Oh, there I am. There I am. I'm live. Doot, doot, doot. Okay, good night, everybody. Just kidding. Good morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late. I gotta pour my coffee. No wonder I'm such a terrible voice. Good morning, one person. How are you? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. The show about nothing. The show about really niche stuff, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, you guys are late. I'm just going to tell you that right now. What the hell was that? What happened? Oh my God. There was a big blink on there. Hi Lee. Good morning. It's about everything informed people want to know. That's right. This is for the smart people. This is for the smart and the beautiful people. If you're not smart and beautiful, we don't have time for you. Thank you very much. You can leave through the side entrance. You can leave where you came in. Hi, Neil. Lee, good morning. I miss you so much, Lee. I'm thinking about you goddamn every day. You may not know it, but I'm thinking about you every goddamn day. Oh, we're having fun on the roller coaster. Here we go, and there we go. Oh my God, I have the best clip from this morning, and I put it on my phone because I was still in bed when I was watching it. But I need to play you this clip, or this. I clipped it, so I'm gonna make a freaking video about it. But oh, you're so welcome. If I don't, I'm the kind of friend. I just need everyone to know this because this is really it. I am the kind of person that I will always like act like it's like we've never left each other's side. You know what I mean? Like I have friends from high school. That's like 40 years ago. And I could get together with those ladies and it would be just like we never left high school. Cuz we all like I don't know, I love friends like that. Like I just love friends like that where time and distance doesn't necessarily change anything, right? Because there's always that. And I think also I just want to know you to know. I think it's really important for people to know when you're thinking about them. Because if you don't tell them that you're thinking about them, then how are they going to know that they've got that love out there? You know? Like don't miss an opportunity to tell someone, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." Do you know how much that does to people's day? Oh my God. Like that to me is just like, "Oh my God, you did?" Wow. That's a lot. That's energy. Anyway. However, for tariffs, which we're going to have fucked financial Fridays tomorrow, and I'm going to work on that today. So I'm going to be busy trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. All right. I want to play. This is a place I got my soundbite from. I only clipped a few seconds. Definitely. You learn that lesson when you're people without getting the chance to tell them how you love them. I know. I weep for the herd and McDonald Islands. How will they survive Trump's tariffs, especially since the islands are uninhabited? Wait, what? Did he put tariffs on uninhabited islands? I'm sorry. I know tariffs aren't funny. Okay, they're not funny. And let me tell you why they're not funny. because because this lady, good morning, gal. Trump put tariffs on uninhabited islands. Hey, just in case. Hi, Gimme Coffee. He just posted this. Oh, cool. Let me go to that. Oh, Donald Trump has committed the most profound, harmful, and unnecessary. Oh, sweet. Sweet. Wait, I gotta get the archive link. I'm a naughty girl. Okay, first I'm gonna show you this ridiculous video that I've clipped, and I'm gonna make a really good thing about it, but I just can't wait to share it, because this is all tariffs, baby. Here we go. Here's the message of the day on tariffs. You don't need to know anything else than this.
I'm now joined once again by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, happy Thursday to you. As always, welcome back to the show.
Not very.
Thanks for having me, Marky. Great to see you.
Yeah, you as well. Let's just start with tariffs. Obviously, yesterday was President Trump's Liberation Day. You got more than 180 countries with tacked on tariffs from China all the way to the Christmas Island, on top of a 10% base tariff on all goods entering the United States.
I'm not laughing at the tariffs.
Caroline, we heard the president tout this is going to be good for businesses, jobs in the long run. Just tell the American people, though, how long discounted tariffs are going to feel this before things get better.
Well, first of all, Marky, I just want to address that yesterday was a great day for our country. And President Trump delivered on a campaign promise that he made to the 80 million American voters who elected him to this highest office, a promise that many presidents before him for decades refused to deliver upon. This is a national emergency. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. We've had 90,000 factories closed across our heartland. We've had 5 million manufacturing jobs go overseas since 1997. And President Trump is finally doing something about it by implementing these reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden rule for the golden age of America. As for prices and what the American public can expect, they can expect price stability. They can expect to buy American. It's a patriotic thing to do. And most importantly, they can expect their wages to go up. We know that in President Trump's first term, wages went up by $6,500 per person. And that's because
I talked over the best part.
They can expect price since 1997.
Wait.
Implementing these reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden rule for the golden age of America.
The golden rule.
As for prices and what the American public can expect, they can expect price stability. They can expect to buy American. It's a patriotic thing to do. And most importantly, they can expect their wages to go up. We know that in President Trump's first term, wages went up by $6,500 per person. And that's because of the whole of government economic approach that this administration is taking. Effectively implementing tariffs while also...
This won't be painful at all for American people and consumers, Caroline?
It's going to be, there's not going to be any pain for American-owned companies and American workers because their jobs are going to come back home. And again, as for prices,
what about the workers who still have jobs?
Working on tax cuts to put more money back into the pockets of Americans. He's working on massive deregulatory effort, which we know has already saved American taxpayers millions of dollars in just 2 months. And we're also working on driving down the cost of energy with a Trump energy boom, just like we saw in his first term. The president effectively...
You want to hear the funny part? The funny part about that is that when crude oil prices go down, when crude oil prices go down, the price of gasoline that you put in your vehicle goes up because this is about profits. And the oil companies, regardless of where they are, run the price game. Okay? So listen, she's got this completely wrong, and they are banking on the fact that nobody is going to pay that close attention. And I know that sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, I watch enough financial news to know that they do not call bullshit like this out frequently enough. So anyway, I won't make you listen to any more of her, but that is, that's the line this morning. All right. Let's see. Lee is our trade representative and tariffs expert. Order your fast fashion now. After May 2nd, a formal entry will be required and duties paid. Currently, most of these goods enter without a formal entry CBP, and ports will be slowed down. This is these idiots. She finishes with. And then let's see what else. She said something else. What? Yeah, exactly. 6,500. It didn't happen that way. Yes, Lolo. De minimis will impact. How will wages go up when the company is paying higher input costs? No profit to trickle down. Hello. And if let's say your wages go up. Fuck, man. Let's just say, sure, bitch. Wages are going to go up. The prices are going to go up. You dummies. Yeah, they're going to, oh, and here's the plan. I'm telling you, I sound crazy. I get it. And I don't know all the details because I'm dumb sometimes. But I'm telling you right now, he thinks, first of all, he thinks that he wants to crash the economy because it'll be a fire sale. That's why the billionaires aren't mad about what he's doing. That's it. Yeah. Let's see. What about foreign companies that have been here for decades? Oh, hi, Peace Love. How are you? Yeah. What about foreign companies that have been here for decades, employing U.S. people? It takes 5 to 10 years to get a copper mill to produce commercially viable copper. You cannot bring manufacturing here overnight. And yes, he's announcing, $500 billion from Apple. Yahweh is making chips here, which, hello, they were in Arizona under the CHIPS Act because of Biden. So he didn't carve that deal. He didn't carve it out. All right? That deal was made. Really. Like fucking Reed. All right? So that and 500 billion, I read the Apple press release on that. It's one factory. And a bunch of little like small concessions or something, like, I don't know, maybe some chips made something or what, I don't know what they do, but something. But I'm telling you right now, my company will fold our US operations and feed the US from other facilities around the world. Oh, that does not sound good. Unless the impact of hundreds of millions of dollars, companies won't move production to the US. Canada and Mexico are part of CPTPP because guess what? Other countries have other trading partners too. So no, they're not going to bring their manufacturing here where the labor prices are way too high for them, which, that's corporate greed. So if you want to do something about corporate greed, we can have that conversation. But you are enabling the billionaires because, to your point, Give Me Coffee, the shock doctrine of this phase of the Trump administration is to tank companies and businesses and the market so that it's a fire sale. So no, it's not a new age in American manufacturing. That's not how the world is now. We are not an island. Ugh. My company will fold. Okay. Some of our company's operations will continue in the U.S., but we have the flexibility to continue supply from outside U.S., which is probably what companies have, which is maybe why there isn't as much of an uproar from the companies. I don't know. Good morning, Muskie. How are you? I want to read what the Economist piece that Gal shared. Thank you, Gal. U.S. post costs are already high compared to other parts of the world. Doesn't help to promote business in the U.S. I know. Oh my God. Chris Murphy of Connecticut had a good thread on Blue Sky. I thought in sum, Trump's trying to destroy the economy so industrialists and universities will lick his boots. Yeah. And privatization, I think. I think the mid game, the mid to long game is privatization. And I think they've gambled on the fact that the base is so fervent for it that they won't revolt. I think they're banking on the fact that people won't revolt. because they've been kind of testing that all along, if you think about it. They've been kind of testing the theory. Yeah, I mean, it's a goal. I wouldn't expect academic conversations about. I mean, I don't see a lot of academic conversations about privatization, but I might not just be seeing them, so happy to do that. But anyway, I want to read this Economist. President Trump's mindless tariffs will cause economic havoc. Well, good. These people know a lot. Ruination Day. That's terrible. Did you see? I built myself a little shelf with a little light strip. Isn't it cute? Little shelf. Little shelfy shelf. My employer survived the Third Reich, so we have experience with this crap. Oh, Nazis? Been there, done that. There you go. There you go. All right, here we go. Let's see what this has to say. Let's see how depressing this is. Let's see. Let me go ahead and move this over here so I'm not. Oh, I'm looking at you guys. Oh. If you failed to spot America being looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, or it being cruelly denied a turn to prosper, then congratulations, you have a firmer grip on reality than the President of the United States. It's hard to know which is more unsettling, that the leader of the free world could spout complete drivel about its most successful and admired economy, or the fact that on April 2nd, spurred on by his delusions, Donald Trump announced the biggest break in America's trade policy in over a century. Good morning, Adriana. Hi, sweetheart. How are you, sister? Let's see. It's hard to know. Or the fact that on April 2nd, spurred on by his delusions, Donald Trump announced the biggest break in America's trade policy in over a century and committed the most profound, harmful, and unnecessary economic error in the modern era. This is the Economist writing, okay? It's not, Cosmopolitan. I'm just telling you. It's not Good Housekeeping. It's fucking the Economist. Which seems to mean in the name, eponymous. How do you say that word? Eponymous? Eponymous? I don't even know. Speaking in the Rose Garden of the White House, which he's about to pave over, the president announced new, quote, reciprocal tariffs on almost all America's trading partners. There will be levies of 34% on China, 27% on India, 24% on Japan, and 20% on the European Union. Many small economies face swinging rates. All targets face a tariff of at least 10%, including existing duties. The total levy on China will now be 65%. Canada and Mexico were spared additional tariffs, and the new levies will not be added to industry-specific measures such as a 25% tariff on cars or a promised tariff on semiconductors. But America's overall tariff rate will soar above its Depression-era level back to the 19th century. Swinging is complaining while you swing. I'm swinging. Oh, then it's missing an H, don't you think? Delicious. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Dump called it one of the most important days in American history. Well, you could say that. Doesn't mean it's a good day in American history, but you could say that it's a day. Yes. He's almost right. His Liberation Day heralds America's total abandonment of the World Trading Order and embrace of protectionism. Yeah, the missing H is a typo. Hi! Hi! The question for countries reeling from the president's mindless vandalism is how to limit the damage. Almost everything Mr. Dump said this week on history, economics, and the technicalities of trade was utterly diluted. Now, why do you think that is, Mr. Economist writer? Why do you think that they allowed a deluded individual to become president? Let's think. Who would benefit from that? His reading of the history is upside down. I don't think he reads history, but that's cute. It's cute that they thought that. He has long glorified the high tariff, low income tax era of the late 19th century, and probably other things about the late 19th century, frankly. In fact, the best scholarship shows that tariffs impeded the economy back then. I'm going to read that again. In the late 19th century, in fact, The best scholarship shows that tariffs impeded the economy back then. I should be able to provide more insight next week, waiting for the real details I know that I need to be published. It's ready, fire, aim at the moment. We're expecting corrections today and tomorrow. Agree, Lee. Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. Appreciate your updates. It's so good to have your voice in this. Let's see. Where am I? Okay. He has now added the bizarre claim that lifting tariffs caused the depression of the 1930s. All right. He has now, okay, and that the Smoot-Hawley tariffs were too late to rescue the situation. The reality is that tariffs made the depression much worse, just as they will harm all economies today. It was the painstaking rounds of trade talks in the subsequent 80 years that lowered tariffs and helped increase prosperity. On economics, Mr. Dump's assertions are flat out nonsense. The president says tariffs are needed to close America's trade deficit, which he sees as a transfer of wealth to foreigners. This is the Mar-a-Lago Accord. Yet, as any of the president's economists could have told him, this overall deficit arises because Americans choose to save less than their country invests. And crucially, this long-running reality has not stopped its economy from outpacing the rest of the G7 for over 3 decades. There's no reason why his extra tariffs should eliminate the deficit. Insisting on balanced trade with every trading partner individually is bonkers, like suggesting that Texas would be richer if it insisted on balanced trade with each of the other 49 states, or asking a company to ensure that each of its suppliers is also a customer. And Mr. Dump's grasp of the technicalities was pathetic. He suggested that the new tariffs were based on an assessment of a country's tariffs against America, plus currency manipulation and other supposed distortions, such as value-added tax. But it looks as if officials set the tariffs using a formula that takes America's bilateral trade deficit as a share of goods imported from each country and halves it, which is almost as random as taxing you on the number of vowels in your name. Oh, oomph, you'd be in trouble. Oh, no, you only have 2 vowels. I guess that's fine. I'd have 2 vowels too, so I'd be in equal trouble. This catalog of foolishness will bring needless harm to America. Consumers will pay more and have less choice. This is the other thing. Everybody was cheering yesterday when he said, you can't sell your cars here. So what I heard is that my choices of vehicles are going to be limited to American models, American made. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Toyota is going to bring all of their manufacturing here to the United States. Now, maybe this is KFAB, where if they bring, like Apple did, one factory and just promise it, not actually do it, just promise it. Maybe that's when all of it goes away because he backs down immediately. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Yeah, Neil, you would be, forget it. Yeah, Neil, you got way too many vowels in there. Way too many. You gotta shorten it up. All right. Consumers will pay more and have less choice, raising the price of parts for America's manufacturers while relieving them of the discipline of foreign competition will make them flabby. As stock market futures tumbled, that's another thing that happened. Shares in Nike, which has factories in Vietnam. Oh, did you see the Nike price fall? Oh, shit. Shares in Nike, which has factories in Vietnam, tariff 46%, fell by 7%. Does Mr. Dump really think Americans would be better off if they only sewed their own running shoes? Yes, it hits food, too. Yeah. The rest of the world will share in the disaster and must decide what to do. One question is whether to retaliate. Politicians should be cautious. Pace, Mr. Dump, trade barriers harm... Oh, wait. Pace, Mr. Dump, trade barriers harm those who put them up. Because they are more likely to cause Mr. Dump to double down than retreat, they risk making things worse, possibly catastrophically so, as in the 1930s. Oh, we're back in the 1930s? Is this the Make America Great Again part? Instead, governments should focus on increasing trade flows among themselves, especially in the services that power the 21st century economy. With a share of final demand for imports of only 15%, America does not dominate global trade the way it does global finance or military spending. Even if it halted imports entirely, on current trends, 100 of its trading partners would have recovered all of their lost exports within just 5 years, calculates Global Trade Alert, a think tank. The EU, the 12 members of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, South Korea, and small open economies like Norway account for 34% of global demand for imports. Should this effort include China? Many in the West think that China's state-owned enterprises violate the spirit of global trading rules, and they have in the past used exports to soak up surplus capacity. Those worries will worsen if more Chinese goods are redirected away from America. Building a trading system with China is desirable, but will be viable only if it rebalances its economy towards domestic demand to ease worries about dumping. Also, China could be required to transfer technology and invest in production in Europe in exchange for lower tariffs. The EU should centralize its investment rules so that it can strike deals covering FDI. I'm not sure what that is. Lee, do you happen to know what that is? I saw a lot of comments about tariffs on no tariffs on Russia, North Korea, Iran. Russia is under sanctions and 200% tariffs. North Korea, Iran, and Cuba are under the embargo. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Everybody's like, oh, there's no Russia on there. I'm like, we already have, we're not trading with them at all. Oh, foreign direct investment. Fuck yeah, Lee. Boom. Boom. Wait. And then you get this.
Certified badass.
That's right. Lee is a certified badass. Oh, wow, they really love you, Lee. They love you. Oh my God, take a bow. They love you. All right. Enough of that. Yeah, Lee does bring it. She's the hardest working chatter on the internet. All right, so that's the thing. That's why we don't have anything on Russia, is because they're already fucking in trouble. All right, we got fucking sanctions on them. Duh. What a fickle crowd. I know. Okay. Building a trading system with China is desirable, but will be, okay. Oh, FDI, and should overcome its aversion to big trade pacts and sign up to the CPTPP, which has ways of resolving some disputes. The madness of King Donald. If this seems grueling and slow, that is because integration always is. Throwing up barriers is easier and faster. There is no avoiding the havoc Mr. Dump has wrought, but that does not mean his foolishness is destined to triumph. Well, but who gets who'll stop the rain? That's what I want to know. Who'll stop the rain? That's great. Thank you so much, Gal. That's a really good. I really appreciate that article. I should read The Economist more. I need to do some research. That's what my day's going to be. My day's going to be financial research for tomorrow's show. That's what I'm all about. All right, let's see. I had some things for us this morning. Things for us this morning. But of course, it's probably wrong because everything I put on my channel is of course, it's probably wrong because. Shush. Shush, woman. Let's see. Oh, we have a judiciary. Big pharma, big problems. Is it open? I mean, is it revised agenda? Manifest could not be loaded. Well, open it in a new video. Okay. Well, that's not working. Okay. Hold on. Let me find this. Why is this not happening? Why is it not happening? Full committee. Oh, 7:15. Okay, great. That's good. Oh, live. Okay, here we go. Well, give me the fucking video. Oh my God, you guys are... Jim Jordan, fix your committee. Oh, no, this is the Senate Committee on Judiciary. Whoops, sorry. Whoever. Senate Judiciary. Doesn't have a link to the video. That's so dumb. Do 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 do. Where is it? Am I wrong? Oh, God. Why is everything so hard? I just want to know. I just want to know why things are so hard. Let me check C-SPAN. Fucking hate C-SPAN. Do you remember Romper Room, Neil? It was your, maybe you or your kids or niece or nephews watched it. Maybe it didn't play in Quebec. I don't know. I would think, well, that's good. I only shared the nun on Russia to emphasize his corruption. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I'm not talking about you, gal. I'm talking about a lot of other people are like focusing only on the fact that Russia isn't included. And they're not mentioning the fact that actually there's reasons Russia isn't included. So it's fine. Do you remember? Oh, yeah. Morning. Hi, Teresa. I think the bottom of the old fashioned word grocery bag is falling out. The lady in the mirror, then it would swirling around and tell us who she saw. Oh, yeah. Romper, bumper, stomper, boo. Tell me true. I don't remember the whole thing. You had Romper Room? Oh, check that link. Okay, let me get to that. I'll have to share with a clip. Romper, bumper, stomper, boo. Tell me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. This is great. Thank you, gal. Oh my gosh. I really wanted to read this. Thank you this is great. God, you're the best producer on the planet. Do you know that, gal? You don't even know it. You don't even know how good you are, but you are. Oh, I gotta put this one in an archive. Archive it, baby. Archive for the future. Archive for the past. Here we go. Oh, we must read in Russia. They used to use the magic mirror. I see Jimmy and Frank and Cindy and Lorna. They never said my name, so I boycotted them, Neil. Yeah, fuck Romper Room. Fuck you, Miss Marianne. Fuck Miss Marianne. I remember the day she said my name. Pretty exciting. I never got my name said either, so, there you go. We all have a bit of trauma from the Romper Room days. Oh, look, who's this? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Yeah, fuck Romper Room. Communists. No, I love him. It's okay. It's okay. It probably explains a lot, though. No, I'm just kidding. It explains so much. Fuck you, Miss Marianne. All right, I'm gonna stop. Well, look who's in town. Look who's coming to town. And Mickey Mouse kaput. Mickey Mouse is a cow. Isn't that the line from that song, from that David Bowie song? I love that song. There was a scandal in Canada because the lady who portrayed Miss Maggie or whatever Don Romper Room was found in a relationship. Oh no! Oh fuck, Neil. Yikes. God, how does that fucking... Oh, it's true. That's terrible. That is terrible. Jesus Christ. Now, fuck Romper Room. The kid was 16. What is he doing at Romper Room at 16? Kidding. No one should be. No one should be that. How do they... Oh, forget it. All right, never mind. Anyway, boycott. That's right. I'm going to boycott it now. Putin's investment envoy Dmitriev may visit Washington, the Kremlin says. That's right. Kremlin says romper groom. Holy shit. That's terrible. But I'm going to laugh at it anyway. Because I can't help it. I gotta laugh. You've ruined my childhood memory, Neil. But eek. That's what we're due. Crushing dreams. Crushing dreams and childhood memories. That's right. Now you can't stop thinking about fuck Romper Room and Romper Groom. Shit, that's so awful. Okay, stop it. Okay, I gotta read this. Putin's investment envoy Dmitriev. That's right. He might. Moscow. Moskva. A visit by Russian President Vladimir Putin's investment envoy Kirill Dmitriev to the United States for talks with members of Donald Trump's administration is possible, the Kremlin said on Wednesday, but declined to give any further details. Listen, folks, we are not gonna, we are captured right now. So there. All right. Reuters reported on Tuesday that Dmitriev is expected in Washington for talks this week. Let me move this so I'm not staring in the abyss. The most senior Russian official to visit Moscow since Moscow invaded Ukraine in 2022. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, when asked by reporters if Dmitriev would be visiting Washington for Trump's talks with Trump administration officials, including U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, his buddy, said that such a visit was possible. Yes, I can confirm that such a visit may be possible, Peskov said. We continue to communicate with the Americans through various channels. Really? Oh, shit. I can't tell you anything more specific. I would get in trouble. The Russian Direct Investment Fund, which Dmitriev heads, declined immediate comment. No shit. Dump, who says he wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, he doesn't want to be. Why are people falling for this? Why are people? Don't repeat that. Reuters has repeatedly said he wants the 3-year war in Ukraine to end and has warned of the risks of it escalating into World War III between the United States and Russia, which, by the way, has never been closer because of this guy. But the U.S. president said on Sunday he was, quote, pissed off. Yeah. Real mad. Real not happy. Not a happy camper with Putin, and spoke of the possibility of imposing sanctions on those who buy Russian crude. Russia is the world's second largest exporter of crude after Saudi Arabia. Really? I did not know that. Trump has also expressed frustration with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who he said was trying to renegotiate a minerals deal. Well, he doesn't want to give you half his country. Okay? You fucking criminal. Putin's investment envoy. It is not publicly known what Dmitriev... I don't know. Give me coffee. I hadn't heard that. It is not publicly known what Dmitriev would discuss in Washington, but he could bring a message from Putin to Trump. Oh, they can't talk on the phone? Come on now. I'd rather know, yeah. The Stanford-educated former Goldman Sachs investment banker is one of the most U.S.-savvy members of Russia's elite, with close relations to some key members of the Dump team. He may be key in repairing relations that were, until Dump's January inauguration, the worst between Moscow and Washington since the most dangerous junctures of the Cold War. Repairing relations? What the fuck? Dmitry, they're an invading force. They're an aggressor. They're not good. That's not good. You don't threaten everybody around you, and that's how you exist. That's not how you do it. That doesn't make you a good person. So to repair relations, he withdraws his forces and goes back and runs his own country. That's how it is. War criminals. God damn. This is so weird. I understand it's Russians writing it, so I don't know. I don't know what their deal is. Dmitriev, 49, played a role in early contacts with the U.S. when Dump was first elected. We need a Red Sparrow. Get a Red Sparrow in there motherfucking fast. Get Dmitriev while he's here in Washington. Come on. Where's all the good stuff out there? Come on. Let's Red Sparrow this motherfucker. Let's see. When Trump was first elected president in 2016, as well as in building relations with Saudi Arabia, which led to an oil price agreement under the expanded OPEC Plus Producers Forum. Oh, there's a boondoggle. He has regular meetings with Putin and U.S. sanctions. Statements cast Dmitriev as a known Putin ally. Are you kidding me? Who is this? Who is writing this? Gleb. I'm going to have to tweet at him. I'm sorry. Gleb. I'm going to tweet at you. Which is a great Russian name, by the way. I really love that name. Anyway, but his writing is weird. Over recent weeks, Dmitriev has mentioned a host of initiatives in which Russia and the United States could work together, from investment, rare earths, and energy to the Arctic. Hell yeah. Space and cooperation with Elon Musk. Thank you, Gal. That's a good one. That's important to read. Gleb. Let me find you, Gleb. I'm going to give you a couple pieces of my mind. Let me give you a couple pieces of my mind, Gleb. Wait, Gleb's still here. Sorry. Yo, Gleb. I've got the piece of thing for you. I got the piece of idea for you. Gleb stole. Uh-oh, I don't know how to spell his name. Stolyarov. Stolyarov. Where are you, Gleb? Oh, they're in Moscow. Interesting. I don't think he has. Do you have a blue sky? No. No, Gleb does not. Gleb, do you have a Twitter account? Gleb. Why isn't he on Blue Sky? That's kind of weird, don't you think? What did I call him? Stolyarov. Gleb Stolyarov. There you are. Wait, there's two of you. God damn it. God damn it. Shit. Well, this guy doesn't exist on any. It doesn't exist. I don't think that's him. Nope. That's not him. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. That's crazy. Hi, Paulina. How are you? That guy is Putin's sovereign wealth guy. That's another thing we're going to talk about tomorrow. The sovereign wealth fund. Stablecoin. Stablecoin. We're going to talk about stablecoin tomorrow. You are visible, Max. Oh my God, have you not been able to get in? I see Greb and I see Lolo. I see Lolo yelling at Greb. Boop, bloop. I am going to yell at him. Oh, hell yeah. No, I'm not going to yell at him. But I would like to ask some questions. Okay, wait. There's a hearing. Sorry. Let's do this. This is the Senate nomination hearing for deputy directors of OPM and OMB. I think this is what I wanted to watch, actually.
In any time of transition and change, if the public doesn't understand how we got here or what's going on, I happen to think as things are coming out, Americans are like, what
this
do you
is Ashley Moody. You know that voice.
Our hard-earned tax
Al,
money
you know
on
that
this
voice.
woke and wasteful, nonsensical program that totally conflicts not only with my own values, but
this is actually the problem. I'm going to put her on the screen. The problem is your values. Oops, that's the wrong screen. Your values are not appropriate because you don't believe in people. So, Clayberg, your day off. Oh my God. I would love to be in your ear during your day off. No, have a great day off. Oh my God, you deserve it. I love you so much, Clayberg. It was the first I saw you, Max. That's true. I got all my sisters with me. Ooh, we are family. Ooh, I got all my sisters with me. All right, let's listen to this cunt.
American values and interests.
American. I have to go live. I'm sorry.
Quite frankly,
sorry,
people
bitch.
create their own narratives, and unfortunately, that often does bring them to very dark places. And so I think one of the things that I hope to do through OPM is for us to be a leader in talking about what we're doing, why we're doing it. And again, I think we can take the very hard actions that you're talking about, but also respect the fact that we are talking about people's jobs here, and we have to be respectful of that. But I don't think we should confuse that with the requirement to actually bring people along and help them understand exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
Mr. Yulin.
Nobody even knows what you're doing.
Absolutely. I associate myself with both Mr. Cooper's comments, and one of the things that Senator Nichols did mention is part of my experience up here in the Senate and in Congress was on the communication side, and the need for clarity of message, purposefulness of advocacy, explanation, as I talked about, to the committee, to Congress, to the workforce, to the general public, is something that seizes me, and if I am confirmed, will be something that will be part of the work that I do as the Deputy Director for Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Peters, for this hearing. To the nominees, thank you for being here today. Congratulations, and congratulations to your families, too. This is a big day for you and for them. Before I ask you some questions, I do want to say a quick word on the Trump administration's use of
There's no room now.
with a journalist included in the chat to discuss the recent U.S. attack on Houthi terrorists in Yemen. It is imperative that a thorough, transparent investigation be conducted into the National Security Advisor's use of a commercial text application to discuss the timing of a U.S. military attack. This put our troops' lives at risk, and the fact that this administration won't acknowledge that is an insult to the men and women in uniform. We also know that members of the Trump National Security Council have used personal email
100%.
accounts to conduct government business, and I hope that this committee will hold.
There's more signal chats that were created, right? Didn't that come out yesterday? Like 20 more conversations set up by Mike Waltz's team.
The need to fire the federal workforce, and I just want to talk about the impact that these random, arbitrary mass firings are having on my constituents. Just this week, the administration essentially closed the entire office for LIHEAP, the Low Income Energy Home Assistance Program established by Congress in 1981. It serves 6.2 million people from Maine to Texas. Help with their
and it should serve
New
more.
Hampshire, it was 30 degrees on Saturday and snowing. And maybe spring here, but it's not yet in New Hampshire. And in Texas, it's going to be real hot this summer. And one of the purposes of that program is to make sure that people can stay safe and cool enough in their homes during a blazing summer. So the administration, nothing transparent about this. They just shut the
Audrey,
office.
I got you.
Even though the money has been appropriated. So that's the impact on my constituents. At the same time, by the way, that the Trump tariffs are adding 10% to my constituents' home fuel bills. So this is real stuff. And when we talk about arbitrary firings, which is what this administration has done, we are talking about a level of harm to our constituents that is
she drinking vodka
and
behind
that does
her?
not meet the mission that was established by this Congress.
Hi, butterflies.
So I would
I
suggest
didn't see you come in.
that
Hi,
at
darling.
OMB or at OPM, if you all want to gut a program, you better come back to Congress because that's what the Constitution says you are supposed to do. Now, I also want to ask both of you a simple, straightforward question. It is something I am sadly having to ask of every nominee in this administration. If directed by the president to take action that would break the law, would you follow the law or follow the president's directives? Mr. Cooper?
Thank you, Senator. I certainly do not expect the president to ask me to do anything to that effect, but I will 100% comply with all laws and with the Constitution.
And Mr. Euland?
Scott, grow up.
President's made crystal clear, Senator, that he will follow the Constitution
Oh,
and
having
the
a
law.
Coke.
He will not
A Coke
ever
Zero.
ask inferior officers to violate the law.
Well,
So
both of
it's
you,
very,
I'm
very
going to.
simple for me to answer the question that absolutely I'm going to be able to follow the Constitution and the law.
Well, you know, Mr. Vogt sat here at this table, the person you're going to be reporting to, and told us that he knew better than the United States Supreme Court about the constitutionality of the impoundment law, which he is violating and the administration is violating. I am deeply disappointed that both of you seem to either not read the news or not observe basic facts, which is the President of the United States has been violating the law on a regular basis since he took office. Now, I also just want to explore with you, Mr. Cooper, the limits of the OPM director's authority. If someone in the administration, let's say Stephen Miller or Elon Musk, were to say to you, I need you to fire a veteran who works for the VA because they posted something online in their personal capacity that I don't like, would you fire that veteran?
Thank you, Senator. My understanding of the OPM's restrictions are that we can provide guidance, but OPM does not have the authority to actually go in and to do firing. So if those were to happen, those would have to be conducted by the agency.
Do you think it's ever appropriate to fire an employee, let's say, providing expert service at the VA because of their political views?
I certainly think that we should make sure that we're evaluating people for the skills that are appropriate for what they're doing, and if they're
Excuse me?
Those things are interfering with their ability to do their job, then
Are
that's
you kidding?
worth discussing. But otherwise, we need to evaluate people based
Are
on
you
performance
kidding?
objectives. of
Why
their
do
role.
you need to
And
know their
what the First
political
Amendment of
views?
the United States Constitution says?
Yes, Senator.
The government may not interfere with free speech. Now, I have one more question. In January,
mad.
President Trump, this is to you, Mr. Cooper, illegally fired several inspectors general, including the inspector general for OPM. Since then, in response to concerns that Elon Musk's Doge has improperly accessed the sensitive personal information of hundreds of thousands of Americans via OPM systems, the acting inspector general at OPM has confirmed that his office is looking into the matter. Will you commit to allowing the acting inspector general and his office to continue this investigation without any interference or retribution?
Yes, Senator, as you and I have discussed, I think protecting data privacy is incredibly important, and we absolutely want a system where if people have concerns, that there's an appropriate way to investigate that.
So you will commit to allowing the OPM's Office of Inspector General to operate without political interference in all matters?
We will commit to do everything that is required under law to make sure that
He's
data
not.
privacy is protected
He's
and
not
that the laws and
committing.
regulations are followed.
He's not committing to the
I'm sorry to say
OIG.
the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Fucking
I'd like
fuck.
to interject just briefly.
This
at
is
point.
bullshit.
There are allegations made that the president
Oh,
is
fuck
acting
you.
illegally, and these are simply allegations.
Look at
and
his
will be
hair.
adjudicated
What's
by the
got-
court.
oh,
In
wait.
the previous Trump administration,
I know
he
what this
fired
means.
the head of the
I know what
CFPB,
this
the
means.
Consumer Financial Protection Board. It's the only operating case we have recently, and it went to the Supreme Court, and they
Early,
ruled that he
but
had
here we are.
Congress couldn't limit his firing. So there's a debate. Can Congress limit the president from firing people? It's not an open and
I'm going to
shut
tell you,
case that
this actually is
something
the
either
closest
illegal
match
or
to the
isn't
Apple
illegal. It's
head
going to be
doll
determined by
that
the
we've
courts.
had.
This goes back to
Look
the
at that.
Civil War.
That's almost a
The
1 for
radical
1.
Republicans tried to tell Andrew Johnson that he couldn't fire Edwin Stanton, the Secretary of War, and they made a statute saying he couldn't fire people in his own cabinet.
It is
That was
humiliating.
ultimately struck down by the courts. There have been
It was bad.
a series of
I mean,
cases. and
it's
there's
not
going to be
even looking
more.
like it normally
And I'm not
does.
sure whether the Inspector General
He needs a little minoxidil.
CFPB.
His hair looks
but
better,
It's not
yeah.
an open and shut case on hiring and firing, and the president's going to have a certain amount of leeway, and the courts are going to have to decide that. The same with the Impoundment Act. I side with many on your side who don't believe that they can impound funds indefinitely. But I think there's a real question whether or
Indefinitely?
not waiting a month or 2 months or 3
Oh,
months
really?
is impoundment or a pause. I really think the courts
is
will
that
have a
what
tough
it
time
is?
defining
A
something
pause?
as impoundment unless it's still sitting there through the fiscal year. If you get beyond September 30th, I think it's going to be pretty clear it's been impounded. Is that legal or illegal? That's going to be determined by the courts too.
my
But I don't think
God.
it's absolutely certain. that,
Abdication.
looking at spending and upending things and doing all the things that are being done now is yet impoundment. I think it's a debatable point. So from where I
Interesting.
sit, I just wouldn't call things carte blanche, illegal, legal,
blanc?
illegal. And everybody has the right
Carte
to
blanc?
do that, but there is another opinion, and I just want to make sure
Carte
that was
blanc?
put forward. Senator Langford.
Is that really how you say
Sure,
that?
thank you. Gentlemen, thanks.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Very much. You've put a lot of years in to be able to serve your nation and to be able to serve people.
Ugh.
And I appreciate you
Langford.
stepping through this process. It's not a
Idiot.
fun process to be able to go through for you or your family. And so I appreciate very much the work
Well,
that
why
you've
don't you
already
kiss
done
him?
to be able to prepare for this. I'm going to walk through several questions.
Why don't you
just
go
as
down and
rapidly
give
as
him
I
a
can.
give him a
Scott,
hug?
There was a massive data breach at OPM a decade ago. Every federal worker has still struggled with that and still feels vulnerable because of that. You've worked with data for a
One
long
of the
time.
guards is
and have done
also
a lot of
named
great work on
Blanche.
that. What are you going to do when you step into
Which
this role as
actually, you know,
confirmed,
now I mean, now that he
to be
says
able
it,
to
I'm
help
like,
protect
okay, well, I
that
can see where I've
integrity
been
of that
saying it
federal
wrong.
data?
Carte
So
blanche.
thank you, Senator. I certainly do not want to see a repeat of what happened, obviously, many years ago. One of the first
I
things
mean,
that
it's
I
a
will
good
do
point.
is do a full
Why
business
is it
review,
Blanche?
not just of all of our functions, but certainly data privacy. And
I
data
stand
protection.
with Rand.
And so that will be one of the first.
What's
orders of
wrong with
business
those
when I,
French
hopefully
people?
have the opportunity to serve.
Great, that'd be very helpful. There's been a lot
If
of
Blanc is
conversation
white,
about
Blanc is
federal
white.
workers and being removed.
I can see
through the
Rand Paul
process, but
making
we
that
have
argument.
Just as much of a struggle, quite frankly. On the other side, there are 120 different hiring
Oh, I like his
authorities,
tie. He's a
and
nice
every
tie. It's hard to
agency
see,
and
but
NC says I hate all of them.
it looks like it's
because of the
like a Harry
complexity.
Potter tie.
We have made the federal
Blanche,
workforce
have more
incredibly
fun.
complicated both to hire or to remove or
It's
to
a
be able to do
feminine noun and
oversight
adjective.
to the
Thank you,
process.
Neil.
I'm not talking about just the hiring portion of it, because we will get back to doing hiring in the days ahead for key roles.
I thought I was
while
like,
we're in
oh,
the
maybe
process
I've
of
just
also
been saying like
reducing
an
the size of federal
Americanized
government
version
as
of
well.
that all my life.
What are your thoughts on decreasing the complexity of the federal hiring process?
Yeah, so as you may know, I think the
No,
president
okay,
put out an
now I feel
executive
better.
order saying that we have a target now of
I'm
80
smarter
days
than
to make
Rand
sure
Paul.
from kind of imposition
Bonus.
of a role to actually have somebody in seat. And one of the things that I expect OPM to do is to go through the entire hiring process. So everything from, quite frankly, I think you and I have talked to us, we do a really poor job of hiring people out of universities, for example. We don't utilize
But
our
you're
internships
closing
for
universities.
full-time employment. There's all kinds of things I
Vin
think we can
Blanc,
do and we
hard
should
C
do
is
both to
masculine
streamline the
because
process
Vin
and, quite
is a
frankly, to ensure that
masculine
we get the
noun.
highest quality applicants through the
There you
process
go.
very quickly.
I think it would be shocking to a lot of the American people that they find out because a
Oh,
lot of
right,
people
'cause
have
Cart
served as
has an E
intern
on the
in some
end, and that's
spot
more
or
like
as journeyman in a different role and everything else, and we just assume
right?
those folks are trying to be able to get to that job.
Cool.
But in the federal workforce, that's incredibly difficult to move from an intern that some supervisor may say, gosh, they're really good at this, we should bring them on. And it's, yeah, they've got to go through a 120-day process. And by that point, they're gone on it. And so it is a real challenge. It's got to be able
And
to be fixed.
Mountain Blanche is
Telework
different
one of
than
those
Mont
things that There's been a
Blanc.
lot of bashing on telework. But quite frankly, I have spoken out frequently on an issue for things like
It's very different.
spouses of federal
Unless-
law enforcement or for active duty military, that they, by their job and their family, move every 3 years. It's very difficult for them to get to careers.
Okay,
There are some jobs
Langford,
that you
talk
can
about
do by
something
telework,
important. I'm
where you're
sorry.
answering a phone and
Yeah,
answering
this
a
is- this
question,
sounds
for
like a
instance. You can
memo.
do that literally from any place
This
on
sounds like
Earth.
an email.
This is a great opportunity for people that are already serving in our military.
don't you
or
just
serving
send them
in
an
law
email?
enforcement, for their spouse to also develop a career if they get into that job. That's one example of many on that. How would you handle the supervision of telework once we actually balance this
now
out?
it's telework.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Senator. As you know, the president also has issued an executive order on that. And even in that executive order, his entreaty to OPM was,
He has a very
let's make
small
sure we do this in
forehead.
a way that recognizes some of these cases that you're describing. So I want to
Can
make
you-
sure as we
can you
provide
guys
guidance
see,
through OPM
like,
that we do recognize, to your point, there may be instances
small
where
his forehead
it does
is?
make sense
Like,
to have a policy,
what do you-
particularly in the case of
That's so
military
like a
spouses
low. I
or, as you
mean,
mentioned, other law
like it's the
enforcement
ant. It's
individuals. So
not a
I think we
receding
need to,
hairline. It's what
approach
is the
those as individual
opposite
matters.
is.
Great, thanks. I appreciate that. Eric,
Yes,
all you
I
had to
know.
do was
Sorry,
have Don
I didn't hear
Nichols
the military
introduce you, and I'm
spouses
done.
part. It is
Okay,
important.
that was it. So
He
once
had
that
you.
occurs, I'm ready to vote. Be able to go from there. But
Thank you, Senator.
thanks for your many years of service, and you've served in so many ways for the American people. Many folks have not met you before, but they got a chance to be able to hear a great introduction of you and to be able to hear just how much you have done behind the scenes for so many people for so long. So thanks for that. Thanks for stepping into this role on it. You and I have talked about the federal program inventory. This was something that started years ago that we finally got passed in the first Trump administration. To their credit, the Biden OMB office continued the work behind the scenes for the federal program inventory. It's still unfinished, but we still cannot say everything the federal government does. We cannot ask, the American people cannot do a quick internet search to say, how many job training programs does the federal government do? We don't know on that. So the federal program inventory is incredibly important to
this
be
could
able
have
to
been a
finish out.
strippergram.
If we're
Hi,
going to fight
Carla.
duplication, we got to be
It's
able to
true.
see it. So what are your thoughts on finishing this out for the federal program inventory?
So
Well,
an
thanks for the question,
inventory.
Senator. And right, you can't manage what you can't measure. And right now, we just don't know. And that is incredibly exasperating to anybody going through line by
What do you mean
line
you
of the
don't
federal
know?
budget,
That's
trying to determine
ridiculous.
whether or not we've got it right. So my commitment
does look like
is
the
to
blonde
drive
wig.
the team to finish that inventory, to
does.
provide that roll up and ultimately
wears
that
his wigs like I
information
do.
to Congress, to taxpayers, the general public, and then from there help Congress and the director make
Did he?
decisions
I think
about
he
what's
did.
appropriate in the federal fiscal envelope that ultimately Congress and the executive branch are going to
Great,
set.
thanks. Two things that you and I talked about. I'm not going to ask you a question on, but just mention again publicly.
Measure what you
One is
can't
making sure
manage.
that
No, you
OMB
can't
is actually
manage what you
pushing on our
can't
contractors
measure.
and subcontractors to actually
He
use E-Verify.
is. Oh my God,
And that
Max.
is something that is required by federal law.
He's a
and my understanding
Thunderbird
is it's
puppet.
just
Oh
not
my
being done.
God.
So we want to make sure that federal tax dollars for federal projects are actually going to American citizens on it. And the other one is to have OIRA review for independent agencies. They're not a fourth branch of government. They do need to have some oversight in that process. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing those both up. And very briefly, Mr. Chairman, yes, absolutely. We're committed to both of those. Obviously, the president has spoken very directly on these things. And at OMB, we are well underway. And if I have a chance to be confirmed, dive deep on implementing those thrusts, those steers.
Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chairman. And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to also just flag that I also agree with my colleagues that the importance of this committee taking action to be able to shine a light on what happened in terms of this administration's use of unsecure, unclassified commercial channels, including Signal and Gmail. I think that this is something that's important, something that we should be investigating, something that we should have a hearing on in this committee. So I urge the chairman to work with us to be able to bring that to light. Mr. Cooper, I wanted to just start with you. I enjoyed our conversation. I appreciated the chance to be able to talk with you. And one thing that we talked about is the importance of the federal workforce being clear that it serves the American people, right? That we need to make sure that there is no question that the workforce is serving the American people. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
So I told you I was a civil servant. So I worked in the federal civil service. One thing that was made very clear to us is that those serving our country, working in this, having access to the information of our country, that we were barred from political activity, campaigning, other things like that through the Hatch Act. Do you recognize the importance of that separation?
Yes, Senator.
I guess I wanted to just ask you then, should Elon Musk be held to the same standard as the rest of those that serve our country?
I don't know specifically with respect to the issues you're talking about with Elon, but in general, yes, I think anybody who serves the federal government should comply with all the rules and all the regulations that are appropriate to an employee of the government.
Do you think someone with the level of access that Elon Musk has had, including participating in cabinet meetings, that he should be subject or at least held to the standards of the Hatch Act?
Look, again, I don't know what the Hatch Act, I don't know where the limitations of the Hatch Act are or not, but I would say my understanding is he's employed as a special government employee, and I'm sure there's a set of rules and regulations that apply that, I would expect that he would comply with.
Well, I would hope, the OPM was the one that sent me the guidance about the Hatch Act when I was in government, and so, I certainly ask that you engage on that, but just from a standpoint here, I mean, look, I went home and, I did some town halls throughout New Jersey, and people were just asking, look, he's got government contracts. He's getting money, he's got business before our government, now having access to so much of the information within the government and also, campaigning actively around the country.
Paying people $1 million to vote.
That unsettles me. It, to me, seems very clearly crossing the line of what a government employee or someone who is serving this country in whatever capacity, whatever title he has, the fact that he has this much access to our government, has so much influence within our government. I wanted to ask you, does it bother you?
Look, again, I'm not trying to be argumentative here. I don't know what the restrictions are with respect to his work via the Hatch Act. What I can tell you as a general matter is anybody who is a federal employee, I strongly believe, and OPM will support this, that they should follow all the rules and all the regulations, including the Hatch Act. And if there are violations of that, then those should be dealt with appropriately.
Well, look, I'd like to follow up with you on that if you're confirmed, but what I was trying to convey here is just a sense of, just get a sense of from you how this feels to you. If you share the discomfort. I mean, my constituents in New Jersey, they don't know the ins and outs either of the Hatch Act, but they can tell that this isn't right. And that's just something that I wanted to flag for you. Mr. Ueland, I wanted to just ask you what your thoughts were in terms of the dismantling of USAID and whether or not you thought that was lawful. You worked at the State Department, you've been engaged in foreign assistance. What do you think was, how do you think the administration handled that, and do you think it was lawful?
I do think it's lawful, and the court has affirmed the decisions of the secretary in that regard. USAID has been effectively shuttered, and certain key roles and responsibilities removed to the Department of State, with the Secretary's insistence that appropriate health and life-saving programs will continue under the direction of the Department of State.
Do you think that the administration has
the
same authorities that it would, to be able to, for instance, close and abolish the Department of Education?
Senator, I would expect that the courts ultimately will have a voice on this, but there are a variety of statutes, not just creating the Department of Education, but also reduction in force, that clearly are going to be invoked as part of the process of reducing the footprint of the Department of Education and finding ways to return authority and responsibility.
I hope you don't have any kids that access
Chairman, I'll yield back.
Individualized education programs. I hope you don't have any
Senator
kids
Moreno
in there.
next, and I may have to leave for a few minutes. He will
Or
take
maybe
over
I
the committee,
do.
and I will
Maybe I do
go
hope
to
he
another
has
committee
some.
and come back in just a few minutes. But Senator Moreno, you're
Maybe
right.
I hope his
Thank you, Mr.
grandkids
Chairman.
are now going to
Scott, you've invested. Give me a sense of
be on the
how many
receiving end,
companies
unfortunately,
Andreessen Horowitz
of this
has
asshole's
invested
thing.
in
Oh,
since
this
the time
guy's a
you were
dick.
there to start in the firm. A sense of scale, like how many off the top of your head?
It's been thousands.
Thousands.
Yes, sir.
Has any company you've ever invested in where you actually put your private capital and your partner's capital in ever been run
Dinesh
the way the
D'Souza's
United States
daughter.
government
This is
is run
Dinesh
in terms
D'Souza's
of
son-in-law,
excessive
by the way.
cost, inefficiency, bureaucracy, and ineptitude?
He hopefully.
Thank you,
sits-
Senator. We certainly have
Senator.
had CEOs who sometimes have different skill sets in some of these areas, but certainly as an investor, one of the things we focus on
Yeah,
as board
it is a
members
good
is
program.
ultimately, return on investment. And
Oh,
what that
he's
means in the private
Andreessen
sector is, do
Horowitz.
we have
Oh,
somebody who
Jesus
understands
Christ. Mark
what they're
Andreessen
spending, why
is,
they're spending, what they're getting out
I
of
think
that.
he's on drugs.
And we've certainly
I'm
had
sorry.
times where those
He
CEOs have had to
he
make
behaves
changes,
in a
unfortunately,
manner
in
of someone who is
employment
quite
and
high.
otherwise, in order to affect those outcomes.
I think.
Do you think $2 trillion a year?
Oh, that's
in
someone else.
deficits,
Though they're
paying
easy to
$1
confuse.
trillion a year in interest is a sustainable path?
No, Senator, and obviously, as you and I have talked, and as I reiterated my opening statement today, I believe we are on an unsustainable fiscal path.
Ohio,
and
yeah.
I think,
Brandy
we
Moreno,
need to help the American people understand that. Just
He's
as they
like
do with their
a.
own
He's
checkbooks,
actually like
that the federal
super
government needs to be held
extreme
to the same
right.
standards.
And who's going to pay the price?
And I think
Like
he's
you
been
say,
like
it's a
set
sustainable
up.
path. Like who pays the price? Is it
He's
people of our
he's
generation,
from
30-years like you and I?
I want to say he's
who
from
pays the
like
price
El
for this
Salvador.
ineptitude?
No, where is he from?
No, sir. Ultimately,
like
look,
Cuba?
what we are doing is effectively creating an unsurmountable
originally?
debt for our children,
But
our
he's a real
grandchildren, and future
actor.
generations.
He's a
And
real
it's
crisis
just
actor
fundamentally unfair, and it's something
in
that I
the
do believe we need to
Republican
address.
Party.
So the status quo is just
man,
no
you guys aren't
longer
sitting in right
acceptable.
the
Is that
right.
fair?
Yes, Senator.
And then going back to the Office of Personnel Management, you, again, thousands of companies.
Benny, thank you. I gotta take a picture of that.
I owned several companies myself prior to being here. How many companies have you ever seen, ever,
Wait, I'm gonna see if
in
I
the
can put that up.
your entire career, where 69% of the employees are rated above average?
You know,
How many-
this
give me a
has to
sense
be
of,
the
like, how
most
many.
enjoyable
I've
news
never
show
seen a
on
company that's been
the
successful
internet.
that has that level of rating.
Meaning, if it were accurate. In other words,
That's correct, yes.
what would you do if you found the CEO that could have created a team of
Give me a
people
break.
where almost 70% of the people are at the top rating?
Yeah, so either this is the most incredible set of workforce we've ever seen, or as you're suggesting, it just really defies logic at the end of the day. And look, this is important not only to ensure that we have
You
accountability,
defy
but it's also
logic.
important from a compensation and incentives perspective, right? We want people who are doing well,
Where's my
quite frankly, to be
clip?
recognized.
I
I think
just
we should
clipped
recognize
it.
federal employees who are fantastic, and let's pay them appropriately. Let's give them promotions. But we have to have a system that doesn't peanut butter out effectively
Peanut
incentives
butter?
and that does distinguish between top performers and unfortunately people
Peanut
who are not doing
butter?
the roles.
Yeah, and hiring is hard, right? I mean, hiring is hard. In my company, we used to say, take a
Peanut
long
butter?
time to hire.
That have to
and a
do with
short time
anything?
to fire. Because hiring is hard. You have a interview and you try to get the best
Right?
sense of
What the
who's
fuck
going to
is
work there,
that?
but ultimately,
Wait, what did I
it's-
call it?
You
Did I
have a
call it
batting
something?
average,
No.
and you want to do as
No, I
well
just
as you
took a
can. Have you ever had a CEO that was so good at hiring that only 0.4% of the workforce was below average?
No, Senator, I've
That
never
could
seen
bat at 99.6%.
What are you talking
No,
about?
Senator, I have
That would be remarkable. I mean, like that person would be CEO of the world ever.
What are you
right? They would
talking
put a
about?
statue of that person. So we have to fix that, right? Because
What are you talking
because
about?
nothing's worse in an organization
What? I
than
just
working
didn't
with
get that
inept
picture. I don't know.
people. Because if you're a high performer and you're surrounded by people that aren't pulling their weight, aren't doing the job they're supposed to do, it's insanely demoralizing. Would you agree with that?
I agree. And if I could just, Senator, I mean, look, I think you're exactly right, which is this is an issue of fairness to the people who are actually doing great work. So this is not a demonization, quite frankly, of the workforce. This is a
Yeah, Lee,
recognition
that's
that
totally
when great
offensive. The
people do
majority
great
of
work,
people
quite
I've worked
frankly,
with have
we should
been
reward
above
them for that.
70%.
And everybody
CEOs
knows
don't
that if
do
you have
the
an organization
hiring.
where
It's
people
so
are not
true.
performing, the right and the humane
Yes,
thing,
I
quite
think
frankly, to
Marino
do
lied
is
about having
either
an
if you can
MBA.
counsel
That's
them and fix them,
right.
that's great. But if they can't perform,
He
it is
might
to go
be
have
on
them do
Mark
some other place,
Andreessen's
where they
drugs.
can actually exercise their
It's
appropriate
true.
skills.
Well, thank you, Scott. I look forward to confirming you. Thank you for doing this. I'm sure there's a lot of other things in your life that you could do than this. So
Now,
thank you
this
for
guy,
serving
on
your
the other
country.
hand, has quite a tall forehead.
Mind if I call you Eric because Yulin, I don't know, it's too complicated to pronounce. But
Tell me about it.
first of all, your daughter is always a shining star in the cloakroom. I don't know how she always smiles like that, but she's great. Real briefly, in 20 seconds or less, do you think it's fair
What the fuck?
that the taxpayers of this
That's
country do
fucking
not
creepy,
know
Marino.
that we have people here in Washington, D.C.
That's
that are
fucking
willing to
creepy.
send $40 or $50 billion
These guys are
a
trying to
year
portray
foreign
government
countries
programs like
to
the
help
schools in
foreign
Lake
citizens
Wobegon,
in
where
foreign
every
countries
child is above
when
average.
Our people need help. Our seniors are struggling. Our middle class is struggling.
Okay, what are you going to do about it? In the cloakroom. In the cloakroom.
Sending tens of billions of dollars to
I
foreign
like
countries.
your
Do you
daughter's
think the
smile.
average American understands that this
That
government has
is
done that?
fucking
No, Senator,
creepy.
I still don't believe that the average American understands it, but I believe the average American understands.
Benny Moreno,
where President
check
Trump
his hard
stands,
drive.
The agenda he set, the objectives
Check his
he's
hard
laid
drive,
out,
everybody.
the goals he expects all of
I'm
us
sorry.
to accomplish. And
That's
the mission
creepy.
set
I
that
don't
we
care.
Have to deliver
That's
courtesy
fucking
of this
creepy.
mandate.
And as the temporary chairman, I'm going to tell myself I'm out
She's
of time.
such a
and I
good
have to move
sport.
on.
What does that mean?
I will recognize my fellow Colombian Senator
Oh, that's
Gallego.
he's from Colombia.
Gracias. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I begin my questioning, I
Yay,
do want
Robin
to take a moment
Gallego.
to call for a committee hearing focus on Signal Gate, since that is part of our coverage and jurisdiction here. Messages containing war plans or other highly
Yeah,
sensitive
that's what he
information
said.
on unsecure apps like Signal.
No, there's
can easily
something
be
wrong.
intercepted
There's
by
something wrong
adversaries.
here.
This
Okay?
reckless move is particularly concerning
There's something
because
wrong,
sophisticated
and the
adversaries
House
like Russia
ethics
and
or
Iran,
Senate
who
ethics
provide
might need to
support
look
the
into it.
Houthis, could have intercepted these messages and passed them along to the Houthis, who could have acted on that information to kill American service
Fucking
members.
crazy.
In light of even most recent news regarding widespread use of Signal by top administration officials, we owe
got
it to
smoke
these
in my
brave
eye.
fighters and the American people to get to the bottom of this to ensure it never happens again. So thank you for indulging me. Now I turn to my questions.
Here we go.
Mr.
Max,
Cooper, thank you for
in March
joining us as we
2024, the
consider your
Associated Press
nomination
reported
to
that the
Director of
account on
OPM.
Adult Friend
My
Finder had
guest
been
at the
created in
President's State of the United Address is
2008
one of thousands of
using
veterans
Moreno's email
who have been,
soliciting men
fired
for
due to enormous
one-on-one
cuts to the
sex.
federal workforce. My guest's 16-year career as a dedicated employee at the Department of Defense and
Does
Department of Homeland
Benny
Security
have some
exemplifies the arbitrary and haphazard
secrets?
approach currently being
I'm going to
undertaken
clip
by
that
Musk,
part. I'm
OPM,
clipping that part.
and the U.S. Doge service.
Benny Moreno,
So yes or no,
I'm coming
if you're
for you
asked
with
to
the
fire
clips,
additional
baby.
veterans, will you follow the continued
Clip it.
targeting of these men and women who put their lives on the line for our country and who embody their highest standards of discipline, or can we find a pathway to at least give them some opportunity to keep their jobs?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Just two things, if I could, very quickly. Number one, just to reiterate, as you know, OPM does not have authority to fire individuals, so any activities would be through the agency. And secondly, one of the things that perhaps we could work on together is I do think there's an opportunity to meaningfully reform how we think about the reduction in force rules, including things like VSIP and otherwise, that I think would allow us to have a very rational process when we unfortunately find ourselves in situations where we have to identify spending cuts.
Right, and so one of the things, so you kind of just went into
He
that,
is
which I would appreciate. Will
vehemently
you commit to
anti.
prioritizing
He's a
transparency
complete
and providing lawmakers
homophobe,
with accurate, up-to-date
transphobe.
information
I
on the
mean, he's
number and types of
horrible. He has a
personnel
gay
being
son.
laid
Oh, I did
off
not know that.
before
During his
coordinating or
2024 Senate run, he
executing additional
accused
layoffs. As a
supporters of
personal,
LGBTQ
peeve of
rights
mine, for
of
example, I also
advancing
sit
a
on the
radical
VA,
agenda of indoctrination.
committee. And at the
he's
VA
one of
committee
those.
announced 15% cuts to the Phoenix VA, which for us that have lived there and used the Phoenix VA seems both arbitrary and just pure crazy. And we have zero insight into what the process was, what the thinking was, where did the 15% come from, how is this going to affect services, is it going to affect services?
What was
And
it,
so
Sheldon?
This is where I think
Was it, who was it?
OPM could be much better at communicating, what is,
Oh my
even if
God.
we're going to disagree.
I could see
wanna
his
what the
face,
thought
but I
process
can't
is. I want
figure
you
out
to
his
show me
name.
your work.
Yes, Senator.
is
Look,
terrible.
we
Sherrod
wanna do
Brown.
this in a way that
Sherrod
is
Brown.
transparent and responsive to the needs of Congress and the needs of the American people. And so I look forward to working
Oh my
with
God,
you on
he's
that.
a complete
Great,
shill
thank
for
you.
the Dump administration. They
Mr.
definitely
Green,
brought
another
him
capacity of
on.
This administration,
They definitely got
has
him.
been is the CHIPS program
know.
officer. So far, a
Ugh.
third of its staff has been decimated, creating chaos for the semiconductor companies trying to invest in Arizona. And it's one of our fastest growing economies in Arizona in terms of also just high wages. So we're very concerned, obviously, that if we can't effectively
In 2016,
distribute, some of
described
the
Dump
funds
as a
from the CHIPS
lunatic
program, that we're
invading
going
the
to have,
Republican Party and
some of
said
these
he could not
companies that are
support a
not
Republican
less
Party led by
leeway,
that
and who knows
maniac.
what's going to happen when it comes to the effectiveness of this.
Yeah, Sherrod Brown. I can't believe he
some of the
lost. I
tariffs
really
now.
can't.
So additionally,
It's
some
so hard
companies
to
may not be
believe.
able to obtain their funds, and new grant programs may not be announced. So already semiconductor companies have reached out to our office saying that they are extremely confused.
Well, they must have a
for their
tape
points
on
of
him, Max,
context of
because
just
he is
actually
all
part-
in.
they have
He
no
is
one to
balls
talk
to the wall.
So given this critical importance to
There's no
Arizona's burgeoning
scenario
semiconductor
in which
industry,
I would
both
support
obviously
Trump.
for national security and for trade, And of course, the president's stated goal, he was very happy when TSMC said they're going to add 3 more fabs in Arizona for a total of 6 fabs. Do you commit to protecting the CHIPS program office from future workforce reductions, which would be in line also with the president's goal of making sure that our chip manufacturing returns
thank you for
to the United
copying and
States?
pasting.
Mr. Senator,
That's a lot.
Look, it's very hard for me to make a specific commitment with respect to a specific program, but maybe if I can answer your question more generally, one of the things that I expect OPM to do as we look at the plans that the agencies are providing to us is to ask these hard questions, which is, okay, if we are reducing headcount,
Don't you already have work
if these are
plans?
critical services for how we deliver them and make sure there is no interruption, and I certainly hope that we'll have an influence on that.
You're going to tell me that existing departments don't already have work plans? You're going to tell me that? You're going to tell me that these guys are literally, I'm telling you right now, the thing yesterday, there was an executive order yesterday establishing a new office within the Department of Commerce to do a job that is already done by the Department of Commerce basically since the Reagan era. But what they're doing is just putting a fine point on it and assigning people to the companies that are going to invest more than $1 billion in the country or whatever. So they're just rewriting and adding layers on things that already exist, you guys. They're the opposite of efficient. They're the opposite. I don't know if accurate, Gal says, but Detroit Reuters, Stellantis, maker of Ram trucks and Jeeps, says it was temporarily laying off 900 workers at 5 U.S. facilities after tariffs were announced.
In some regards, like a lot of us are just questioning why didn't it start the other way? I think many of us actually were looking back at the
lack of transparency and actual explanation of what is happening is very, very frustrating. Oh, really? A military hearing right now too? Okay.
Instead, it seems like we're cutting first and then asking questions later, which may work, in the VC world, but when you actually have services to deliver to, for example, veterans that expect someone to pick up the Veteran Crisis Hotline, or you have seniors that need to get their Social Security, it doesn't work like the VC world. So as much as my Colombian brother over there thinks everything is analogous to the business world doesn't have to defend, 2 borders, doesn't have to take care of millions of seniors, whether it's on Medicare or Medicaid.
Jane, I'm so sorry your brother-in-law's been laid off for 2 weeks.
Take care of hundreds of thousands of veterans.
Yes, I've got it. Thank you so much, Gal.
Can only do, and this is why I think it's important that we keep that in mind before we take this VC Silicon Valley idea that we break it and then figure it out later. Because when you break things in government, people die. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Senator Holland. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations.
Oh, this is a great place to stop. Tom Hawley, Josh Cotton. Who will we? Here we go. We're going to go to the Senate confirmation. Yeah, Senate hearing on nomination of former Senator David Perdue as ambassador to China. That's right. Watch, everybody.
You will execute on his vision and address the
This is the introduction.
economic, military, technological, and ideological threats that China poses to the United States of America.
That's right.
Particularly, I hope to hear how you will compel the Chinese government to address the flow of fentanyl into the United States and stop China
Which
from
one?
financially
There's
propping
too
up
many of them.
companies,
Butterflies.
that produce it. I
You gotta
know
be
that
more
with President
specific.
Trump at the helm, the days of endless dialogue to no
Days of
effect
wine and
are over.
roses.
I hope you make it clear to your Chinese counterparts that they won't be able to sweet talk their way out of making real change any
Oh
longer.
yeah, he's going to really
Ms.
help.
Crawley, at this turbulent time in foreign policy, you will be at the center of many of the important conversations, difficult negotiations, and, of course, the happy celebrations that will mark this administration. As Chief of Protocol, you'll be charged with creating an environment that is conducive for working with our allies and countering our adversaries, all to advance President Trump and Secretary Rubio's foreign policy.
Lee
I
says,
look
Gal
forward
sounds
to
about
hearing
right.
How you will work to
Stellantis
foster
was already
cooperation
laying
that
off
advances
people
American
and reducing
interests. I
production.
appreciate
Tariffs
both of
have
you for being
been
here
in
today.
place since
I appreciate both
2018.
of you
These are
being
the
willing to serve
straw.
under,
These are the straw
what
that
are
will
going to
break
be
the backs
difficult
of many
circumstances
companies.
as we go
Understood.
forward. And with that, I will turn it over to my distinguished ranking member, Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome to today's nominees and to your families. We appreciate your willingness to continue to serve the country. Around the world right now, China is stepping in as we are stepping back, sadly. China is replacing canceled American child nutrition
Jane.
programs in
Canadian
Cambodia.
car plant, and he
China's
has
rescue
seniority,
workers are
so I
responding
think
to the
it was the
earthquake
whole
in
plant.
Myanmar before the United States. And Chinese disinformation is going to fill the vacuum that has been left by efforts to eliminate Radio Free Asia and Voice of America. And at the same time, the threats of tariffs and trade wars are undermining trust in the United States as a reliable partner to China's advantage. Just this week, two longtime allies, Japan and South Korea, met with China to deepen trade ties in response to President Trump's tariffs. This is a trend that extends beyond Asia, sadly. From Greenland to the Panama Canal, saber-rattling to extract concessions will lead friendly governments around the world to hedge their bets with the United States, to explore closer relationships with China in the long term. Take the Republic of Georgia, for example, which canceled a port contract with Western firms. Recent reports indicate that it intends to award that project, which is on the Black Sea, to a Chinese company. This is an issue that both Chairman Risch and I have worked very hard on to try and move Georgia forward, and it's deeply disappointing to see this opportunity slip away. Senator Perdue, I know that you're aware of the challenge that China poses. We had a very good conversation when we met before this hearing. I know that presidents of both parties have also recognized this threat, and that President Trump certainly has articulated this threat. But I'm afraid that despite recognizing the threat, we're actually weakening our hand by our actions. Congress' failure to extend the Global Engagement Center last year was a serious setback for our ability to counter disinformation. Meanwhile, China is spending billions of dollars on propaganda. We need more tools like the Global Engagement Center.
Right, Lee? I have so many questions about that.
Beijing sells itself as a reliable,
the last thing you said,
answer to America. But
oh, Mark Kelly's talking about Ukraine. There's too many things happening.
The Chinese Communist Party ruthlessly targets diaspora communities and human rights groups. They leverage corrupt investments to influence decision makers from Africa and Latin America across Asia. And they've tried to buy off politicians in Australia and New Zealand to undermine democratic elections. And Beijing is not afraid to use hard power. China's Coast Guard harasses Philippine forces. Beijing is stepping up military exercises over the Taiwan Strait, including
specific ones that I could talk about in closed
Ukraine, China and North Korea have been
I would rather watch that military one. Sorry.
Sorry,
everybody.
President Trump's
welcome to the show. We go breaking news. Guys. All right, we're going to watch this. I'm so sorry.
That are especially valuable.
This is a U.S. hearing on U.S. military command as Europe considers defense of Ukraine. This is actually very important. Thank you so much, Gal.
For them.
All right. Thank you. And I want to move to General Langley for a second here. Good to see you again, too, General. AFRICOM has continued to experience conflict arising from the uptick in violent extremist organizations as our focus continues towards large-scale combat operations in Indo-PACOM and Europe. I'm concerned that our defense modernization and optimization will trend towards those theaters, but away from other issues that we can't ignore. The real threat of
I'm
terrorism
so appreciative. Thank you so
and gray zone
much.
operations, especially in AFRICOM. It's critical that we don't lose sight of this real threat. And you previously highlighted, General, your need for more ISR capability, calling ISR an active deterrent in Africa. Yet we have limited platforms to go around. SOCOM has begun purchasing the OA-1K Skyraider aircraft, which I think could fill a requirement that you seem to have. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of an armed ISR platform like the OA-1K, especially one with a dual-use capability that could fill the close air support gap?
Oh, Lee, that is so complicated.
Thank you. I will speak to the capabilities of various ISR platforms in Africa, especially as far as our operations, ongoing operations across Somalia and in support of the Somali National Army. So I'll just speak to the capabilities of the need for ISR, that armed ISR across the, makes sense and do responsible type targeting across the region. That's all too important. So I'll speak to the capabilities that every combatant commander needs more ISR in support of our operations.
And do you
Intelligence,
feel the
surveillance, and
OA1K
reconnaissance.
could fill a gap that you have in
Intelligence,
AFRICOM?
surveillance, and reconnaissance.
Sir, I'll take any additional ISR and any enhanced technologies that would add to the credibility and our lethality of our forces.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. There's a vote going on, and we actually have a series of 3 votes. The hearing will continue, and I'll pass the gavel to various members, but the hearing will not recess for the votes. Senator Scott, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman.
Uh-oh, I don't know how to spell reconnaissance.
Thank both of you for what you do. Thank you for the men and women that would work for you and serve with you. And I want to recognize and honor the 4 brave American heroes who lost their lives serving the country in Lithuania. So that has to be a tough day when that happens and talking to their families. So, General Cavoli, can you talk a little bit about the importance of what Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania are doing in contrast to, historically at least, maybe Germany's finally going to show up and do their part. But can you talk about the importance of what they're doing along the
I spelled it wrong, but I don't care.
eastern flank and
you know what I mean.
in contrast to what
Toyota bending over for dump. How'd they bend over? They moving all their operations to the United States?
These countries on the eastern flank are doing?
Sure, Senator. It's a great opportunity to talk about some of our allies, some of our newer allies, right? These are not plank owners. These are post-Warsaw Pact allies of the United States. Poland's at 4.7% of GDP, right? As a benchmark, we are at about 3.4%. So this is a country that has had very rapid economic growth sustained over the last 15 years and is committing it to correct an imbalance in their defensive capability.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Vast quantities of U.S. equipment, by the way, but more important, they're integrating it with the alliance and they're making it available to the alliance for collective defense, which is fantastic. They are rapidly becoming the bulwark of our ground defenses on the eastern flank, and their officer corps is stepping up to the task as well. If we come up through Lithuania,
that's
Latvia,
the point.
Estonia,
it's saturation, right, Lee?
Countries has come
Importers of auto parts
2%.
have been passing on tariffs to OEMs for 7 years, but not sure how much more.
2 of the 3 countries
absorbed.
have reintroduced at least limited conscription. They are building defensive fortifications, and they have extremely well integrated national defense plans with our NATO defense plans. Very, very active. I spend quite a bit of time there working with them on their plans. Finland, of course, Finland never looked away from its national defense requirements throughout years and years and years since the Winter War of 1939, and they have happily and seamlessly and quickly integrated their defense plans into our NATO defense plans. And in fact, they're contributing a 3-star land component command to handle the potential ground fight in the high north for us. So very grateful to those countries.
You want to talk about Germany?
Germany has performed as an ally for many decades, sir. During the Cold War, we know how strong they were. They, like many other nations in the alliance, took a holiday from readiness and foresizing, and they're trying to correct that. It's a complicated situation politically, but I believe that Herr Merz, Friedrich Merz, has been able to negotiate as part of a future coalition. He'll be the future chancellor. He's been able to negotiate at long last an agreement to be able to use deficit spending to be able to finance more rapid growth, and we look forward to having that happen. They have very solid plans for expansion and for modernization. We just need to see it get going.
If you were placing troops around the NATO alliance, American troops without any past, where would you
Miley,
move
have a good
troops?
day,
If
honey.
you didn't have to
I'll talk
worry
to you
about
later.
existing physical structures, things like that?
Ultimately, what we would like to see is sufficiently robust national forces to be the basis of the defense of any part of the eastern flank. In some places, that's hard to see because just the nations are not large enough, the Baltic nations, for instance. The second thing we'd like to see in those places is a
Moldova.
reinforcement by a multinational alliance force. We have that in the 3 Baltic countries. We would like to use U.S. forces to be able to deploy
Yeah,
rapidly
thank you, Lee, for sharing so
from
much
on the continent
information. Thank you so
responsibly
much.
to the point of need. One of the differences between the Cold
Boasberg
War
hearing
and
today.
now is we
Ooh,
were
thank you,
very sure where
Teresa.
the battlefield
Breaking
would be
news,
during
Teresa
the Cold
Carter
War.
coming
Now
in
we
with the
have
breaking news.
2,300 kilometers of expanse. The U.S. forces
Thanks,
bring
T.
capabilities that nobody else has and can move the fastest. So I need them in locations where they can be trained, ready, and where they have the infrastructure and the political agreements, the international agreements, to be able to deploy quickly from.
All right, thank you. Thank both of you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Tuberville.
Good morning. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service and good luck after retirement, but you're not done yet. General Langley, AFRICOM has historically suffered from shortfalls in manpower and ISR and security and all those things. Sounds like from your testimony that Africa's in trouble. 40% rise in terrorism. What's your most pressing need that you can tell us for what we can help you with?
Senator, thanks for that question. My number one operational priority is protection of the force. And so as I stipulated in my opening statement, I focused on matching capabilities to the threat. When we match capabilities to the threat, it first calls for integrated air missile defense, and it calls for ISR. And other platforms would add to the capacity and capability of protecting the force. In closed session, I would be able to elaborate with more specificity, but all combatant commanders always ask for those aforementioned type platforms.
Yeah, thank you. General Cavoli, how much closer today is Ukraine from this time last year winning this war against Russia?
They're in a much better position not to lose it, Senator Tuberville. They have shored up their defenses. They've assumed very strong defenses, and they've improved their force generation capability. So they're in a much better position than they were. Depending on what the objective is, of course, which has always been the question in this chamber as well as others, it would be hard for them to accomplish some things, but they're doing a good job of what they're trying to do now, which is hold their line.
But they're trying to win, right?
They're trying to win. They want to start by making sure Russia doesn't win.
Yeah, yeah. Status of the F-16s that we've sent? I know it's not classified because Russia obviously knows what's happened to them.
No, there are a number of F-16s in there. There are a number of pilots in there. There are more F-16s prepared to be deployed in there. There are more pilots in the training pipeline, sir. I can give you the numbers in closed session. They are active. The planes are active.
Thank you so much, Neil. I'll make sure that I put that on there. Hold on a minute.
They've defeated a large number of cruise missile threats, and they've delivered an awful lot of offensive attacks as well, specifically bombing attacks in the east. None of the F-16s has been from the U.S., though. They've mainly been from Northern European countries, Netherlands, Denmark.
Status for Patriot systems that we've had there.
I'll make sure I give credit in the description of the video. Thank you so much, Neil. Appreciate that.
Closed session, but that has been in my mind.
And I think I can attach it to the picture.
Frankly,
I'll edit the
a
picture.
little bit dubious in the beginning. It's a complicated system. We train guys for a long time to be able to operate it. The Ukrainians put their best people against it and took to it like a fish to water. And in fact, we learned from some of their employment techniques right now.
How effective have the long-range missiles that we've allowed Ukrainians to shoot into Russia, how effective has that been?
Very.
In all areas?
Yeah, they've been extremely effective, sir. I could go into this in private session,
interesting
but
line
the
of
United States
questioning,
makes some
Tommy
very good weaponry.
Tuberville.
It's the ones we've donated have been very, very effective.
I hope you're feeling
in closed session,
okay.
I'd be happy to talk to you about
You're
a few
not
of the
trying.
things they've
You're
done with it.
absolutely not causing
Where do you
trouble. I
think
want to
what's
credit
what's
artists.
the status of Kursk as we speak today? After they've gone in, and obviously there's been a lot of battles, a lot of people killed, a lot of prisoners taken. Where does that stand?
There is a Ukrainian force that is holding on inside Kursk Oblast, inside Russia. They've got quite a bit of terrain. I'd give it to you in closed session, sir, and how many troops, but they've got a sizable force there, and they maintain a well-defended piece of terrain there. They've also augmented it with some terrain they recently captured just a few kilometers in Belgorod, just south of there.
So they gave up some, now they're taking it back? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. They've taken a little back farther south.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tuberville. General Cavalli, the Russians are nowhere near capable of making a big push right now, are they?
That is my assessment, Chairman.
Okay, and what nationality are the pilots of those F-16s?
They're Ukrainian.
Okay, and where were they trained?
They were trained in a variety of places, some in Romania, some in the Netherlands, some in Arizona.
Thank you very much. I think we have Senator Slotkin now.
Thank you, Chairman. Generals, thank you for being here and for your really significant service to the country. We appreciate you. I'm sure you're not crying any tears that this may be your last hearing in front of this committee, but we're happy to have you. And General Cavoli, I can't think of a general more associated with Americans' response to the invasion of Ukraine than you, given the role as SACEUR that you've been playing for these last number of years. Just to establish a baseline, you said the Aspen Security Forum that
I know you
supporting Ukraine
well.
is vital for American
security. Oh no, she's fine. I don't hate her at all.
Confirm that you still believe that
she has a lot of credibility on the military stuff. Absolutely,
I do believe that. Yes, ma'am.
And you also said that Russia was no matter what, no matter how this war concludes, was still going to be a big problem.
I kind of came to a hate.
Do you believe
climax
that
last night?
Russia invaded Georgia, then Crimea, then eastern Ukraine.
I find myself letting go a little bit this morning
with Vladimir Putin, especially one that
just
advantaged
going
him,
into a different
that he'd be
mode.
done with invading neighboring countries, that he would be done with adventurism in Europe.
I don't have any room anymore. My cup got full, kind of overflowed.
Study is that this is part of a broader pattern
now
in
I'm
Russian history and certainly in current Russian activity.
Everybody's good.
How the U.S.
Everybody do their
oriented
thing.
against that is not my call.
Of course.
But that is my assessment of their threat.
Based on your experience on the
People are not
ground
monoliths.
and having to
They're not
negotiate again
monoliths.
military to military with the Russians
criticize
and others,
when
do you believe
criticism
that
is
the Russians
necessary
are
and
a
give grace
trustworthy
when it's
negotiating
necessary.
partner?
Just
I
exist.
believe they are,
Let's just get
I
through
believe
this.
they
Let's
are
do this.
A very deliberate negotiating partner.
I don't want to fight
believe
anymore.
They are very
All right,
strategic
my cup
in their
rolled
negotiations,
over.
even over small
Flowed over.
tactical things that I've been involved in over the years. And I believe they're highly proficient at it, and they will always chase their interests.
You're still a little sick.
Can we talk about how the relationship
That's
between
hard.
Russia and China has evolved over the course of this war? Is it safe to say that since the war in Ukraine,
listen all the
Russia
time
has
and don't
become
chat just
the
because I'm
biggest
cranky.
provider to
I love you,
China of
butterflies.
military technology and equipment?
They have certainly
Paul, I
increased
love
the amount
listening
they
while
provide.
working in the yard. I love that. You guys, that
China
makes me
expert,
so
I'm not sure
happy.
who exactly the biggest is, and in
Oh, we
closed
have to
session,
say
we can talk a little bit
goodbye
about
to
what exactly
Bagheera, my
they've
little black
been providing. One of the things
Little
in reverse,
baby.
though, Senator, frequently
Little
I get asked,
baby.
what sort of support
Oh,
is
I'm
China
thinking of
providing
your other
Russia?
little
And
one.
I think one of the most
I'm
pernicious
sending a
types of
dino
support
hug.
they provide is moral support to Russia, because it justifies the violation of another country's sovereignty, which I think is highly problematic were it to become widespread.
Yeah, I mean, just in open source, we can find that Moscow is helping Beijing develop submarine, aeronautic, and missile technologies in exchange for
important point
China's,
Gal
as you
makes
say, moral support for Russia's
about who
war,
the
maybe other
professionals
things
are in
beyond
the
moral
military.
support. And even though this administration has had very little to say about China's military role and about this partnership as they try and negotiate with Russia, and despite the Pentagon's new national defense strategy, which says that they're focused on China, we really don't see a lot of visibility on this pernicious topic, which is an alliance stronger than ever, or a relationship at least, stronger than ever between China and Russia. Is Russia helping China develop military capabilities that could impact the United States?
You know, again, in closed session, we could talk about it, but they're certainly cooperating, not for the
I hear
benefit
my
of the
puppy.
United States.
I've got to
But I
take
mean,
him out.
China,
I'll BRB.
they can have other interests in other countries, but I think we are a primary focus for the Chinese military. I don't think that's a classified statement in any way. Do you believe that the Chinese are watching what we do in Europe, in Ukraine, and with Russia, and learning lessons that they may use when it comes to potentially taking over Taiwan?
They are.
Do you believe, what are the lessons then that you think they're learning from this, watching us in this conflict, as we now quickly move to negotiate with Putin, put a lot of trust in him and the person that invaded a democracy? Do you think it makes them more likely or less likely to go ahead and try and take Taiwan?
Ma'am, I think they're learning lessons at every echelon, one of them being the policy-making and decision-making echelon. I'll leave that to others to comment on. But at the military level, operationally and tactically, they're studying the conflict very, very hard in ways that we know they would apply.
He's very good at asking for what he needs.
Potential conflict in
And I
Taiwan.
appreciate it.
Again, thank you for your service, your long service, both of you, and I yield back to whoever is acting as chairman. Okay, there we go.
I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Germany is the biggest economy in Europe, twice the GDP of Russia. But it's also been the biggest free rider in NATO for decades. They've finally reached 2% of GDP on defense by some metrics, but they're still not a very capable force. Germany promised in 2023 to deploy an armored brigade to Lithuania, and that brigade isn't going to be fully operational until 2027.
That is
it
so
takes
cool.
the nation that once fielded hundreds of divisions 4 years to move a single brigade just a few hundred miles away from Germany. General Cavoli, the Europeans are finally starting to spend more on their defense, but how long is it going to take before their spending turns into real capability?
Thanks, Senator. This is a very important question because we have been waiting a long time to get the levels of defense spending we're starting to see. Now there's got to be something to buy. So we have a lot of countries, 23 nations, budgeting over 2% this year, several going over 3%. I believe the number 6 are over 3% this year. Now it's a matter of converting it into hardware and organizations. And our industrial base, both in Russia and on this side of the Atlantic, is struggling to produce the relevant equipment and the quantities needed. So basically, there's more money available than stuff right now, sir. I think that.
How do you think tariffs are going to impact the production of
bases on both sides of the
armaments?
Atlantic, consolidated and atrophied under lack of orders.
Let's see.
And then there are some bureaucratic problems in governments in terms of.
I wonder if the bidding processes are still in place at the federal government. Does anybody know?
But
I'll
I
have
think
to
this
look that up.
question of the elasticity of our defense industrial base, again, on both sides of the Atlantic, is one of the great strategic questions of the next 10, 15 years.
The German defense minister last year said that Germany needed to move towards spending 3% of its GDP or more on defense. Do you think the Germans are serious about spending that much on their military?
Yeah, I think they are, Senator. And the reason I say that is because Friedrich Merz was just elected as the next chancellor in Germany. And very rapidly, he, sort of outlined the next coalition that he's going to be leading. And they came to an agreement to do a massive increase in defense spending, far beyond the 100 billion euros they talked about a couple of years ago. And the way they got there was by releasing the so-called debt brake that prevented Germany from assuming deficit spending. So they have exempted defense spending from the debt brake. This is an historic breakthrough for them, and it is the thing that's going to allow them to apply their rather prodigious economic resources to defense. They have a very strong plan to modernize and to expand. It's exactly in accordance with what I need as the Supreme Allied Commander, and I'm very eager to see this coalition.
I feel like they're collaborating with you on that plan?
Absolutely, sir.
Good. How much would it strengthen your hand if all of our NATO allies increase their spending on defense up to 3%?
Sir, I don't think you've ever met a general who wants less defense spending among the force providers. It would help a great deal.
But it would strengthen your hand. It would help.
Absolutely, and we're eager to see it come to pass, and we're especially eager to see it turn into real capability, which is going to require some improvements in our industrial capacity.
It's clear that the United States should redeploy more of its units in Europe to the Pacific. But I also want to make sure that we do that in the right way. General, what U.S. capabilities are our European allies least capable of replacing right now?
Yeah, they're least capable of replacing high-end air and missile defense on a large basis. They depend on us for significant intelligence collection, processing, exploitation, and dissemination. They depend on us for deep, long-range fires. They depend on us for aerial command and control for large-scale campaigns. They depend on us for the backbone of certain parts of command and control. Those are really the key things. There are a few things else that are
that's
that
awesome.
I'd like to go into
knowledge
closed
is
session.
power.
What
Hell
capabilities
yes.
can our European allies most
Information
where are they
is
most
power.
prepared to take over from us?
Well, right now they do a variety of things without us, right? So today I believe it's 17 or 20 European ships, NATO ships turned over to my command as SACEUR. Normally, military forces are held by the nations, and then they turn it over to me for particular operations. I have 0 U.S. ships working for me as SACEUR right now. I have only 40 individual human beings, Marines, who are participating in the operation to monitor the Baltic Sea. We call it Baltic Sentry. Everything is being done by our European allies in those cases. So they have a variety of things they can do for us in any one of those areas. One of the most important things they do provide is intelligence. While we have exquisite capability to collect, they have very deep understanding of their regions, and they have some capabilities that
do you have an X account, Butterflies?
To match in that regard. And, you know, those intel sharing
and you haven't come to, you want to join the Discord. You should join the Discord. I think you'd like it.
That we cultivate very carefully.
It's the nicest Discord I've ever been in.
Senator Peters.
Thank you, and I want to thank both of you for being here today. And certainly I've appreciated your participation in these hearings over the years, and thank you for your service. General Cavoli, I want to begin by expressing my deepest respect for the soldiers that were lost in Lithuania last week. One of those soldiers that was lost was from my state of Michigan, and I just want folks to know that their service and their sacrifice will never be forgotten. General Langley, Exercise Northern Strike in Michigan helps train thousands of service members from over 20 countries at the National All-Domain Warfighting Center. It's also known as NADWIC. It's composed of Camp Grayling Training Center and over 17,000 square miles of special use military airspace at the Alpena Training Center.
Okay.
NADWIC provides realistic joint force training
Just a quick note from the briefing, our most important allies in the Indo-Pacific are Australia, South Korea, and Japan.
Has been a part of this exercise for the past several years. My question for you is, what role do exercises like Northern Strike play in advancing AFRICOM's strategic goals on the continent?
I'll put an invite.
Senator, thanks for that question. You know, our joint exercise program is indicative of the influence that we have, positive influence in building institutional capacity with our African partners. And then the whole portfolio, and then the exercise that you mentioned as well, adds to their institutional capacity. That's why we're the preferred partner. As we go forward and they address their challenges in building security cooperation or the ability to address the multiple layered threats that these countries face, they choose the United States. I know that the Chinese Communist Party and even the Russian Federation are through their throes of efforts of trying to replicate
What's
it.
the opposite?
But they always come back to the United States to do the preferred partner for building institutional capacity. For the exercise there and what Liberia does, they chose right.
Well, that's good. And I want to kind of pick up on that is in terms of the competition we have with both Russia and the CCP and their influence operations in
Join the
Africa.
Discord.
As you know, China employs strategic narratives to justify and enhance their presence in sub-Saharan Africa. Through partnerships with African journalist training programs, the CCP integrates its perspective into local media. It directly engages in more than 60 African political parties. But their most influential impact, I think you would agree, has been the Belt and Road Initiative, which has significantly impacted Africa's economic landscape through substantial investments, particularly infrastructure investments. In 2023, African countries experienced a 47% increase in Chinese construction
I think you just go to the text. You're just going to appear in Discord. It might make you sign up or something. I'm not really sure.
About $21.7 billion, a substantial amount.
You don't. I mean,
so my
you don't
question
have to
for you,
click
sir,
it.
is can you expand upon the growing presence that China has in Africa, politically, economically, and militarily?
But it
and
should
how
open
that is a
a
threat
web browser
to our
or
very important
if you have the
strategic
app.
interest on the
Yeah,
continent.
it's your invitation.
Yes, Senator,
You don't
thanks for
have
that
X.
question.
You downloaded Blue Sky.
China's trying to set the globe now.
Oh, excellent.
They
You're on
want
Blue
to be
Sky?
the global hegemon now. Chairman Xi
Yeah, you
has
can.
put
I'm
out
trying
a
to do the
2049
spaces
plan,
on
but they want to
Discord
get there earlier.
voice.
So therein lies the importance that we engage and show assurance actions, but we just can't just harbor the facts. We harbor the facts, but we don't own the narrative. That's being drowned out by the CCP and their campaign plans to be able to influence civil society, influence the militaries. They can't replicate what we do, whether it be their trying to copy what we're doing in our IMET or our international military education training. It doesn't compare. And we match our efforts, whether it's Title 22 funding or Title 10 funding, whether it be security, the State Partnership Program, or the SFABs, Security Force Assistance Brigades. They build institutional capacity like none other. Our African partners know that. So whatever is in the information space, we do need to meet it with a comparable narrative. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. And once again, thank you to both of you for your service.
Yeah, there's a huge void with Voice of
Thank you.
Free Asia, right?
Thank you.
Free Asia?
I will
Voice
call
of Free
myself
Asia?
now. From Truman and Eisenhower through Reagan and Gates, U.S. leaders, no matter how committed NATO, have made some interesting comments I think are worth highlighting here. General Eisenhower, the Supreme Allied Commander, noted that if in 10 years, this is, by the way, in 1951, if in 10 years all American troops stationed in Europe for national defense purposes have not been returned to the United States, then this whole project will have failed. Dean Acheson, the Secretary of State, said the United States must lead, but it must not carry. President Kennedy
Sir,
said, we want to make
we're
sure
not
that
there
NATO
anymore.
is not a fair
Okay,
weather organization.
everybody's doing
the
their
burden of freedom
thing.
must be shared equally
Stupid
among
shit.
its members. LBJ stated, LBJ had similar thoughts, and his administration demanded offset agreements from West Germany to cover the costs of U.S. troops there. President Nixon.
It always is butterflies. I
and
totally
Henry Kissinger.
understand.
Nixon noted,
I
the
totally
United States will
understand. And yeah,
prepare,
browsers
will
are safer
participate in
than
the defense and development of allies and friends,
data
but America
perspective, I
cannot and will not conceive all plans, design all programs, execute all decisions, and undertake all the defense of free nations of the world. Caspar Weinberger said, our European allies must recognize that security cannot be achieved by words alone. It must be backed by commitment and capability. Robert Gates, in his farewell speech to NATO, said there will be a dwindling appetite to expand increasingly precious funds on behalf of nations that are apparently unwilling to devote the necessary resources to be serious and capable partners in their own defense. Even Secretary Mattis said Americans cannot care more for your children's future security than you do. While some of my colleagues have been wringing their hands over the possibility the United States might step away from its role as a supreme allied commander in Europe. I can tell you who isn't all that worried about it. It's the American people. Quite frankly, they probably thought that ended when Dwight D. Eisenhower was no longer the supreme allied commander. And speaking of General Eisenhower, I read that quote.
What?
If in 10 years all American troops in Europe
You
for
should be
military
able
purposes
to.
not
I'll
return to the United
post
States,
it
then
on
this whole
a.
project
You know
will
what,
fail.
butterflies? I'll
That's
post
70
it on
years
a
ago,
post.
over 70
I'll
years
put it
ago.
on a post.
Time and time again, the United States
No
is
worries.
expected to shoulder Europe's defense
It'll be there.
while rich European countries sit back, issue statements, and undeliver. Some of my colleagues point out that
this guy
since the
is
war in Ukraine
dangerous.
began, Europe has collectively spent as much as on European defense as the United States, as if that's some great triumph. To me, it just shows how upside down this whole arrangement is. How is it even remotely impressive that the nations defending their own continent are only barely keeping pace with the country across the Atlantic? If Europe really believes it's facing an existential threat from Russia, it should be spending not just as much as we have, but magnitudes more than we do. 10 times, 100 times. That's what a commitment
I don't
would look
understand
like.
this.
And please
This guy
stop
should be
telling me
embarrassed.
that comparing spending in Europe is even. That's laughably narrow. When you compare U.S. defense spending in Europe to Europe's, you ignore everything else America does worldwide, much of which directly benefits Europe. Who ensures freedom of navigation in the Red Sea when
Schmidt
European
or is he
trade
another one?
flows there
I can't
daily?
tell.
We do. Who contains
I've seen him, but I don't
China's
know.
growing dominance across the Indo-Pacific, stabilizing global markets and maritime routes that Europe depends on? We do.
Oh
Without
my
U.S.
God.
global power projection, the European way of life
The guy
wouldn't
behind him
exist as we
has
know
to
it.
be
And still,
embarrassed. I'm
they
sorry.
won't
How
even
can you
take
not be
primary
embarrassed by
responsibility
this?
for their own backyard. If Russia really is a continent-wide threat, as European leaders say,
what's on your
then
tape,
where is
sweetheart?
the
Oh,
urgency?
shit. Hi,
Where
Badger,
is the
Badger, Badger.
mobilization? With few exceptions, Poland and the Baltic states, Europe is not acting like it's facing down a generational threat.
No,
not
it
even
actually
close.
is,
And
okay?
I'm getting
We
tired of being
backed
asked to go
out.
home to
We
Missouri and
pulled the
explain
rug
to
out.
working Americans, the people I represent, why they should send
They have
more
to
money,
turn
more
on a
troops,
dime
more of their
because we're
sons and daughters
assholes.
to defend a continent that refuses to defend itself.
Ooh.
Why should we
Why
care
such
more
the
about
anger?
Moscow than people in Paris?
Yeah, Europe
who
does
are 2
things that
hours away
benefit
by
Europe,
plane?
and the
It doesn't
U.S.
make
does
sense,
things
and
to
it's time to
benefit
stop pretending that it
U.S.
does.
That's
For
right,
80
Neil.
years,
How it works.
we've told Europe to get serious about their own defense. They have blown us off. They haven't listened. Maybe
So
they
now
never
we're gonna
will,
blow
as
up
long
the
as we
world.
keep doing the job
That's
for
right.
them. So yes,
We're so
maybe
petty.
we should have a conversation
such
about
petty
the
little
Supreme
bitches.
Allied Commander role. Maybe
They
having
want
an
to
American
move our
general in that
troops out
seat
of Europe, which would be
furthers
disastrous
this
and fatal
ruse.
for the country and the
We
world.
should have the debate, not simply dismiss it. Let's have an honest conversation about it. American priorities in
Oh
Europe,
my God.
what they should be.
These
Let's stop
morons are
confusing
smarter than
symbolism with
people who put
strategy.
some of these things
And
in
while we're at
place.
it,
Are you kidding
maybe
me?
let's stop waving foreign
you
flags in the
kidding
House
me?
floor when Americans can barely afford groceries. Some of my colleagues seem
kidding
to
me?
think that defending Ukraine matters more than defending our own border. I disagree, and so do the American people.
No,
It's
they
time
don't.
to have a serious realignment.
Nobody knows who
Let
you
Europe
are.
grow up and carry its own weight. America's job is not to babysit the world. It's to protect our people and our interests.
How craven.
Full stop. General Cavoli, I had a bunch of questions for you, but I had to say what I had to say.
Really?
So,
So you
I guess
chose his
since I'm the
precious
chairman, I'll ask
time
one question
as
right now.
Supreme Allied Commander,
Greenland,
but didn't.
Greenland.
Oh
Can you
my
just talk
God.
about the strategic importance and why that matters to the
Oh
United States
my
of America?
fucking God.
Sure, I'll talk about it from my perspective as.
Yeah, not from a policy perspective, from a military perspective.
But from a military perspective, Senator, I'll limit my
Wow.
comments to my field of
What
expertise,
is on
which
his
is the
tape?
European theater, right? EUCOM AOR and the SACEUR
Yeah, exactly.
AOR. The key there
Iggy, you're
is it forms the western border of the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap, which is that body of water through which Russian submarines from the Northern Fleet in Murmansk come up and then down through that gap. And once they get past that gap, they break out into the Atlantic. It becomes very tough to track them. It's a vast expanse. There's some acoustic things about the underwater geography that make it pretty tough. From those positions that they can achieve, they can hold the U.S. homeland at risk, several important targets with land attack cruise missiles. Greenland is the western boundary of that gap. So my access to it, the airspace and water space bounding Greenland, is absolutely critical for the United States.
Are you even listening?
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you.
Oh my fucking
Senator
God.
First of all, thank you both for your service, and I join
can't
many of my
even
colleagues
believe
in
that
regretting
guy's
your
a human.
retirement.
Like, how can you
both
sit
have
there and
been
say those
frank,
things
informative,
in front of these guys who
dedicated,
just have
and
devoted their lives to serving
really
the
models of
country?
public service, and I wish you well on behalf of all of it.
So disrespectful.
General Cavoli, we've talked over the years about
why would they,
Vladimir
Max?
Putin's
Why would they
murderous
purchase
invasion
U.S.
of Ukraine.
arms?
There's no question who the aggressor is here, and there's no question in my mind that the aggression, this murderous, bloody
I don't know if it was Schmidt or not. I'd have to look him up, Badger.
With undiminished
I'm going to go back and
force
clip it.
against Ukraine. As you note very powerfully in your testimony, Russia is building its military strength. The Kremlin learns quickly and historically that it restructures forces as necessary. It's already reconstituting itself. It's tapping additional manpower and preparing to continue this assault, and at the same time, slow walking and playing us in supposed negotiations. I'm not going to ask you to comment on the
100%.
negotiations. I recognize
100%,
that your
Gal. It doesn't require us to take
mission
it.
is military in nature, but I would ask you how you would characterize Russia's ability to recoup its material and personnel losses in Ukraine. Will it succeed in rebuilding after its losses, and what kind of threat does that represent to American security interests?
Sure, Senator, thank you. So if we divide Russia's rebuilding capability into two big blocks, personnel and equipment, I believe the personnel they'll be able to build as quickly as they want to. They continue to maintain a conscription. You saw that just last week, the Russian government announced its annual conscription drive. It increased by 10,000 over last year, 160,000 this year. With those numbers, they will be able to constitute the force size that they choose fairly quickly. Be a little tougher, take them a little bit more time to organize it into the sort of organizations that they have said they want to build after the war. They want to have an army of about 1.5 million, they've announced. They want to put a lot of it on the border of NATO and northeastern Europe. It'll take them a little bit of time to do that, but we're talking a couple of years.
Oh my
Equipment, that depends on how much more they lose inside Ukraine, sir. They've lost a vast amount of equipment inside Ukraine. They started the war with someplace near 13,000 tanks on active and in storage, and they're starting to approach near the end of that, near the end of the useful tanks in storage. So depending on how much more they lose, that will really determine how quickly they can regenerate. They have expanded their capability to produce some things, artillery shells, cruise missiles, tremendously, and they're producing some things such as one-way attack drones in prodigious numbers that they weren't even producing at all before the war.
And I would characterize that capability as offensive. In other words, they're not defending against a possible invasion from Ukraine. They are preparing for continuing offensive actions against Ukraine and possibly NATO allies if they are successful in Ukraine.
And I would add to that, Senator, that this is not just in the ground domain. They have long-range aviation that practices daily, moving out and doing strikes across.
We created an arms race. We created a new arms race.
Strategic ballistic missile fleet.
Literally.
And
in fact, we increased the number of countries that we would have that arms race with.
It's not just in those domains. And then there is, of course,
there's
the
nothing
cyber
safe
domain,
about
which,
an
they're
arms
very
race.
active. We can talk about in closed session, sir.
Period.
Just one last question, General, because I've heard from some of the critics of our military aid to Ukraine that there are
I lived through an arms race. I don't know about a lot of you.
Weapons.
But I did, and it wasn't pleasant.
Stolen missing from the aid
Yes,
that
I
we're
will.
providing Ukraine. On every one of the visits,
I'm going to do
I've
that
been to
right
Ukraine
now,
6
Lee.
times now. I've talked to our military and logistics folks in Poland, and they are tracking virtually every bullet that we have provided to Ukraine, and there's no evidence whatsoever of this kind of misconduct or misappropriation of our aid to Ukraine. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with that, Senator. There will be a challenge locating all of it later. You know, all of us have been in combat, realize that it's pretty easy to misplace things and to lose track of things. But we've seen no deliberate effort to transfer, sell, or steal weaponry. The Ukrainians are using it to defend their country.
My hope is that Russia will take seriously the efforts to peace and stop stonewalling and slow walking negotiations. But right now, they seem to be playing us and playing for time. And I want to thank you again for your incredible service, both of you, to our great country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator Blumenthal. General Langley, let me ask a few more questions here as we hopefully recess. Africa is a mineral-rich, resource-rich continent.
Report from the field. Doot, 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 doot.
Yes, Chairman.
Okay, and you can leave the microphone on.
Bobo reports.
Which are
tariffs
there
have hit
success
the film
stories
industry.
for
Shipping has
the
changed.
citizens
Whoop, whoop.
of African countries when
Oopsie.
these larger, more prosperous nations or companies from more prosperous areas come in and exploit these minerals. What I'm asking is, that, does it ever
ISB.
redound to the benefit
Software
of the
issue. You're right,
citizens
Neil. That's right. Tom brought that up.
Chairman, there's very few cases.
Who wants U.S. arms with software in it from
When
us?
the Chinese
and
Communist
Elmo?
Party is outed on them pulling out raw materials, not benefiting the populations of the host
Always
country.
ask yourself, who benefits?
They've been trying to come up with ways how they can stay there and process only at the protests of the people of these African countries that host these mineral resources.
Okay. So is there any exception? Can you point to any success story where the people of one country or one or two countries have actually benefited substantially?
Not on China's behalf. Not on China's behalf. Just what happened in Zambia when they had the spillage into the river that services 5 million people. There's just these mining concessions. It just doesn't turn out real well for the African countries.
And do the countries that are receiving entreaties from the Belt and Road Initiative, are they more and more mindful of that now and therefore reluctant?
What?
Yes, and that's where we need to be able to do information operations to illuminate some of the irregularities and some of the malign type activities of the Chinese in the African countries.
God.
Information and narratives are power then, aren't they?
Absolutely. And as I said a few minutes ago, and I always will tout this, that we own the facts. We own the facts. We know exactly what the Chinese Communist Party is doing, and to some degree what the Russian Federation is doing in their propaganda operations. But we don't own the narrative. Both of them own the narrative.
We sure don't. One more thing for you, General Langley. The approach that we have had with USAID and the other things like the President's Initiative on AIDS, how does our U.S. approach compare and contrast to the approach of Russia in Africa and also communist China and Africa?
Oh, Chairman, we've always had the lead. So what you're seeing in those two competitors or challengers, they're following in our wake. They see what works as far as our influence and deepening partnerships through those soft powers, whether it be health diplomacy or whether it be in development type programs. So they're following in our wake, trying to replicate what we do best. And I think the African countries know this, and so this is where, as we start to look at going forward, as State Department starts to reset these programs, looking at what worked and what didn't work, and doubling down on what does work. I think we have enough capital built up in these countries for them to ensure their stabilization and also prosperity.
Really, sir?
The other two competitors are just trying to replicate what
without
we do
USAID,
best.
and they don't replicate it exactly. So stop. They're not apples and oranges, or they're not oranges and oranges.
Country is receiving gratuities on the side that in order to the benefit of the strongman leader, and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Tory and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across. Even in Sudan, what's going on with the rapid support forces and Burhan of the Sudan forces, when you get down to it, is all about the revenue that can be drawn out of that. And there are nefarious actors in the CCP or in sometimes Russia are complicit in those activities.
And North Korea, sir.
Okay,
North
you
Korea
can't imagine
also.
how frustrating it seems to me that this mineral-rich continent has not been
Full
able
of people.
to move to a utilization of
Yeah,
the
what do you think that
resources
is,
to
sir?
benefit the people there. After
What do you
all this
think that
time,
is? What do you think is the...
It's a puzzle that we haven't unwound. Let me see if I can.
we unwound it, bitch.
Move to.
It's
General
called
Cavoli.
colonialism.
I hope we
It's
can
called colonizing.
You're aware of various
there's so many clippable moments in this show, you
coming
guys.
from inside government
Holy
here in the
shit
United
balls.
States, as well as in the media, that have
I don't have any more words.
spoken with approval about the Russian organized referendums in 2022 in so-called.
He doesn't know why Africa hasn't been able to take advantage of their natural resources?
Provinces.
Are you kidding me right now?
General Cavoli,
are you kidding me right now?
You know and what you understand.
He's the chairman of this committee?
Freedom of those organized referendums and the accuracy of them as a measure of public opinion.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I don't think I'm familiar with the voices in Washington that are talking about this, but I do remember them very well. They were referendums in Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson provinces.
Please share the
in September
broadcast.
2022. They were roundly condemned by nations throughout the world and by international organizations. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe called them illegitimate. The United Nations called them illegal. I think the only country in the world that accepted the result of those referenda, other than Russia, was North Korea. So they have widely been considered not to be legitimate for a variety of reasons about the way they took place and taking place during a conflict by an occupying power.
So if members of Congress want to be informed by what happened in these referenda, if our negotiators in this peace process want to be informed by these referenda, what lesson should we take from the legitimacy of those votes?
Sir, I think that anybody who wants to know about it, it's pretty well-established history. It's pretty easy to find. I could certainly help direct your colleagues or anybody you want to sources on it. What conclusions can we draw? We can draw the conclusion that, you know, the Russian Federation was intent on absorbing those provinces and attempted to put a gloss of legitimacy over it by holding a referenda that had, you know, results like 99% in favor.
Rigged results, correct?
That was the widespread conclusion at the time in 2022. Yes, sir.
And also, since you are a student of the Russian language yourself, is the fact that the Russian language is spoken in part of Ukraine, is that demonstrative of their loyalty with regard to their nationality?
Well, we see linguistic minorities in countries all over the world.
All the time.
There certainly is a dominant Russian language population in eastern Ukraine. We see a Russian language population in eastern Estonia. So it's
they consider themselves loyal Estonians, do they not?
Yeah, it really doesn't have much to do with sovereignty at all. I mean, we have large populations in our country that don't speak English.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Well, thanks,
Senator
Mr.
Reid,
Wicker.
we'll be going into a closed session.
All right.
Do you have any questions for the open session?
I have a few questions, and thank you,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
General
General Cavoli,
I have to
in
take
your
the dog
military
for a
opinion,
walk
does
now.
the U.S. agreement with Denmark
I'm going to hope that I get back in
facilitate
time. But
access
if this
and
goes
basing needs,
pear-shaped, let me make sure it's
in
not on auto.
Greenland meet current military requirements?
Okay. All right. I'll BRB.
Sir, I can only talk about the part of the military requirements that affect me. So our principal presence on Greenland, the United States personal presence on Greenland is the base at Pitafik in northwestern Greenland. That is not under my operational or administrative control. That's a Space Force base. And I don't know if it's adequate for them or not. From my perspective, as both the Supreme Allied Commander and the U.S. European Command Commander, I have all the access and basing I need to prosecute the operations that we've talked about in the High North during this.
So is that from your perspective, European Greenland, just to get the facts right, is within your area of operations?
Greenland is within my area of operations as the Supreme Allied Commander, and it is within my area of operations as the U.S. European Command Commander.
And you feel at this juncture we have all the capacity we need to confront the threats going forward?
Yeah, again, Senator, my part of that is what I can comment on. That's from the coast of Greenland eastward and northward to counter Russian threats coming out of there. I can't really speak for Northcom's interests or anything like that.
Thank you. If AFRICOM is dissolved and merged into EUCOM, you would have responsibility for more than 50 countries. Do you have the capacity, the expertise, the infrastructure to
I would have the responsibility for 50 more countries.
Yes, exactly right.
It would be a stretch, Senator. I mean, that's a wide span of control. I think that the organization, if it were aggregated, would possess the expertise and the capacity, because when AFRICOM was created in 2007, it was mainly created by cleaving it out of the EUCOM headquarters and establishing it separate, actually in some cases in the exact same buildings. So my assumption would be that a lot of that capacity would have to come back to EUCOM in order to be able adequately to handle the threats and the problems that General Langley's talked about today. It would have to be studied very, very closely, of course.
Thank you. I have one question for General Langley and just a comment. We've talked a lot about the German contributions, and it's increasing, thank goodness. But I think we miss some of the history here. For many, many decades, Germany was divided, so that it's not the same country now that it was in the 1960s, et cetera, in terms of its economic capacity. And the second point that strikes me is that for many, many years after World War II, there was a great reluctance upon Germany, and indeed most other countries in the world, to see them create a powerful military force. We had seen that before, after World War I. And so I think that has to be factored into their reluctance to spend on defense. But now I think it's a turnaround, and they're putting a great deal of resources, as they should. Final question. General Langley, have you had specific comments from any of your counterparts about the withdrawal of USAID from Africa? Have they commented to you like, why are you doing this? Or
Ranking Member, thanks for that question. I went to the Munich Security Conference about a month ago, or greater than a month ago, and after I got my direction from the Secretary of Defense, what my priorities were, especially counterterrorism and also to deter China and their military activities on the continent, it kind of refined my mission. Then I had to come up with my narrative to engage these countries, be very transparent and straight talk of that you were going through the pause and we're in a reflection period of assessing what has worked in the past and what's going to work in the future. And what's going in the future will be more targeted to what their needs are, but they also need to be able to build towards a sense of independent operations. I expressed this and talked to Cote d'Ivoire, their MOD, and even in Ghana, the new president-elect, President Mahama. They understood that and also carried on that narrative. They appreciated me being transparent. Carried on that narrative when I went to Morocco as well, when we delivered the helicopters, and they understand it. And so it's more of a burden-sharing type message, and also a regimented message of getting towards the host nation coming to the point of independent operations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. This concludes the open portion of today's hearing. I'd like to thank our witnesses for their testimony. For the information of members and staff, questions for the record will be due to the committee within 2 business days of the conclusion of this hearing. We will commence the closed portion of this hearing in Senate security at the hour of 12:10, 10 minutes past noon, and until then we are recessed.
Dang it, I knew it. I'm back. Hold on. I'm back. I'm sorry, everybody, for being so late. Oh, where's my camera? There it is. Holy shit, what I missed. No, I'm just kidding. It just ended. Thank Jesus. All right, let me just take it off the screen for a minute. Oh, Pete, get out of here. Hegseth, go have a drink. Go to the bar. Foghorn, go to the bar. Go to the bar with Pete Hegseth. Yay, good. Perfect timing. Oh, that dog was fantastic. No problem, Neil. And I should have the credit. So thank you so much for getting that credit. I appreciate that. Shop local farmer markets if you have them. Boy, I hope you do. There's just a lot of food deserts in this country. There's a lot of food deserts in this country. And it is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Let me just check and see if there's anything else. Do. I just don't think I can listen to David Perdue. I'm sorry, everybody. La 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 la. Are they coming back, or is it absolutely done? Because they're going into closed session, right? I think that's what the plan is. The hurt goes on. The hurt goes on. Look into CSAs. Yes, and I did, Max, thanks to you. So I have yet to consummate the relationship, but I have been looking at that. So thank you so much for that. Let's see if there's anything interesting on. You know, interestingly enough, too, the Senate voted yesterday to block the tariffs on Canada, which I thought was really interesting. Actually, I have some bookmarks. Hold on, I want to just get this now playing out of here. All right. Let me just quickly make sure we're not missing any really awesome events. La la la. La la la. No, it doesn't look like anything like huge earth-shattering is happening. Okay. So let me open my bookmarks. Hey. Hey, bookmarks. What's that? Oh God. I'm really not going to read that to you. I'm just not going to read it. Oh, well, we're going to talk about this. Just as a thing. Oh, Lolo, Texas Senate just sent a bill to the Texas House for consideration on the food stamp cuts for purchases of soda, candy, chips, and cookies. Who else was talking about doing that? Wait a minute. Oh no, it was West Virginia. West Virginia is doing that too, or at least he had a press conference about it where RFK Jr. told the governor of West Virginia that he was too fat on stage. I wonder if I have a clip of that. I don't think I do. But yeah, he told the West Virginia governor that he was 30 pounds overweight. Where does the produce come from this time of year? Yeah, he did. He said it. I don't know. Where does it? Well, I know where my produce comes from this time of year, but I don't know where everybody else's does. That I don't know. Because that's a good point. But it must come from somewhere. Doesn't that be that'd be a trucking thing, right? That's true. Then that's not a farmer's market. Oh, I get what you're saying. Oh man, what do you do? I guess I don't remember having farmers markets in the wintertime in Maine when I lived there. Maybe. I don't know. No, I don't recall going to one. I mean, unless you have greenhouse type stuff, which I can't imagine that would take a lot, I think, for people to do year-round growing. So. Okay, wait. Where am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Hold on. Oh, I guess I didn't have any. Oh, wait. Maybe I have one more. Let me go to my other playlist. Beautiful playlist. Oh my gosh, I guess I didn't. All right. Well, I thought I had things lined up, but I don't know. You know, sometimes, isn't it funny? I don't know if you do playlists on YouTube. You probably don't. But if you do, you put things in a playlist, but if then they're taken down or something, then they disappear from the playlist. And you're like, gosh, I thought I had more on this playlist. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was boring. Facebook keeps me connected locally. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting idea. I can't stand Facebook. I closed everything down, but I understand. Max, Tom says, Max, they think me being a white guy makes me one of them. Yeah, that's why you need a t-shirt, Tom. You need to send the message. No, don't. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. He did. He straight up publicly. Wait, I've got to find that. Yeah, unavailable videos are hidden. Okay. Wait, I've got to find West Virginia Gov RFK Jr. 30 pounds. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, fucking hell. The New York Post. Oh, shit. Wow. What a gift. Thank you. The one good thing New York Post does is clip the fat shaming. hey, you know what? You're gonna take the ride. You're gonna pay the price. That's what happens here on the planet X. All right, hold on. All right, so I watched this live and I was just like, what? So this guy, the West Virginia Governor Morrissey, invited RFK Jr., I guess, to celebrate with him that he's introducing, I guess, legislation which is going to cut benefits in terms of people can't use SNAP for soda. That's what he said anyway. Anyway, so here's the 2 minutes of what was perhaps just really fucking awful. I felt so bad. Well, I didn't feel bad for the governor because frankly, you asked for it. You invited the brainworm guy. Fuck off. Here we go.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I want to thank Governor Morrissey for his visionary leadership. I got to know Governor Morrissey early in the transition. We were both down in Palm Beach working on the transition in Mar-a-Lago, and we were both invited to stay during that time at Dr. Oz's house. And I said to Dr. Morrissey, or Governor Morrissey, the first time I saw him, I said, "You look like you ate, Governor Morrissey." And there was a lot of talk about getting healthy again, and I'm very happy that he's invited me to be his personal trainer. And I am going to put him on a really rigorous regimen. And we're going to put him on a carnivore diet. We're going to make him raise your hand if you want Governor Morrissey to do a public weigh-in once a month. And then when he's lost 30 pounds, I'm going to come back to the state and do a celebration and a public weigh-in with him. You're welcome, Denise. You left me an open door, so.
Yeah, that's our brainwormed Health and Human Services Secretary. Thank you very much, everybody. I did show this on Wake and Bake, didn't I? God, man, I have zero memory. That's just what it is. But thank you, Max. I don't know. I think that, I don't really know what the EBT program will allow in terms of food choices, but I don't know. I just don't know. But I think it's really disgusting, frankly, to tell people what they can and can't consume just because they need help. And that's fucking sick. That's just fucking gross. No one has the right to do that. That's such it's such an insult to people. It's like the opposite of giving people dignity in that they deserve, which is what everyone deserves. Makes me mad. But I'm not mad because remember, my cup got full. The other thing I wanted to tease for tomorrow morning's show is a little bit about, what? Our not so favorite subject, which it really isn't. I'm not into this. I just have this weird fascination with it right now. With all the economics of things. But tomorrow is Fucked Financial Fridays. And so we will be having a little show about just kind of tariffy stuff and, all the usual. But I just wanted to debunk something that came out. This is an actual news release from Apple, the company. February 24th, 2025. Apple will spend more than $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years. That's right, $125 billion a year. Fantastic. Love it. So you would think, because Dumpy talks about this 500 billion like it's the fucking second coming and the answer to his manufacturing dreams, but it's not actually going to be all on that. I mean, this to me feels like a gesture. Teams and facilities to expand in Michigan, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and Washington. So to expand, not defined. Could be 1, could be 1,000. Plans include a new factory in Texas. That's great. A new factory. Fantastic. And doubling the U.S. Advanced Manufacturing Fund, a manufacturing academy, and accelerated investments in AI and silicon engineering. Well, that actually is their own fund. Or it's a fund. It's not necessarily like revenue for the government. So I just want the story. I think the real story in all of this is that what they say is not what they mean. And the press is in large part letting that part go. That you can't just say, "Oh my God, $500 billion." Well, it's over 4 years. It's only one like it's not as impactful as well, and they have to come through. Yeah. What happened to Foxconn? Yeah, exactly. So that's the part that's so frustrating. It's word parsing, and so it's disinformation, really. So Dump can stand up there and say $500 billion, but he's not giving you the entire context. It's not giving you the entire context. And I know you guys know this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to speak to, I'm preaching to the choir in very large part. But I'm also just trying to document how I feel about it. Like I really see this like so clearly, and I'm frustrated that I don't get the sense that a lot of, there certainly are wonderful journalists and other observers out there. But I feel this frustration that we're not really having that conversation about the disinformation, frankly. And I get weird looks every time I bring that up. I understand. People think, "Oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist or something." You know what I mean? Yeah, much of it sounds like spending they'd be doing anyway to keep, like, I mean, it just doesn't, it lacks context, and it lacks important context that just basically puts it in perspective. And from an information for voters type of lens, to me, as a voter, it's really crucial that I understand whether a program is as impactful as it's being portrayed, right? I don't know how many jobs were provided by the existing chips factory in Arizona, but I remember when we read the articles that were published about that factory that was established by Yahweh in Arizona, the same Yahweh who is apparently giving another however much money. But again, they came in through the Biden administration. So he was already here. Okay. So Yahweh, or I hope that's the chip manufacturer. I might be getting the name wrong. So I'll check, or somebody can check me on that. And I think, that when we read the article about the existing chips factory and program under the CHIPS Act in Arizona, there was, first of all, a lot of employees that came over from, was it Taiwan? Forgive me. Yeah. The source chip manufacturing that came over. So there was a lot of, which is wonderful because the story was around how a new immigrant community was really springing up and bringing, like the beauty of an immigrant community to an existing community, and how they were integrating and all of that, and which was wonderful. But again, you have to look at from an economics perspective. Okay, well, how many jobs did that create? And is that the best use of that, investment or whatever? And that's just I would prefer to take the more like, how do we make our country richer and like increase our cultural, depth, and be a true melting pot kind of thing. But I also can hear the money, the robber barons seeing an opportunity. Huawei am I saying it wrong? Huawei, I'm so sorry. I really am terrible. I don't ever hear that stuff, so I'm really sorry with some of those names. Am I saying it right? Huawei? Sorry. So so I guess, like my cautionary Yahweh. Oh, Yahweh's God. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Media literacy. Whoop whoop. Huawei. Oh, that's true. Huawei. Is it Huawei? Okay, I'm gonna stop trying. The chip company that was announced, but hopefully it's a team effort. I know, really. No, this is media literacy in action. It's actually giving, like, hey, no, that's not how you say that, and you're saying something really different, dummy. And I love you for it. Thank you. But regardless, it wasn't God exactly, but it was a company, a chip company, and but there's just a lot of context that's missing, and that's all that kind of frustrates me. Go away. It took me a minute. RFK Jr. was with Pig's Breath yesterday? Where? Were they in Hawaii or something? I have this feeling that they've sent Pig's Breath across the world on a tour just to get him out the fucking country for a minute. The compound vowel is one vowel sound, hua. So is it Huawei? Okay, I'm not going to try. I mean, I'm going to listen to people pronouncing it so I can mimic it. I think I need to mimic it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It does take a village. It does take a village to get me on the proper pronunciation path, which is always good. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, okay. And here's the thing. We are having movies tomorrow night. Yeah, Americans mostly won't. Yeah. So, well, I can listen to it for other sort. Oh, okay. We don't have a movie yet for tomorrow night because there was a revolt. No, there's no tribute to Val Kilmer because it was somewhat voted down. It was kind of a mixed reaction, if you will. I would say. I guess, yeah, that's true. So I'm a little bit back to the drawing board on the main movie. I can pick from Max's beautiful selection. I know some of them aren't available, Max. I went through, but I think I have a couple more on your list that I haven't looked at yet. The poll was pretty democratic. Oh, you know what? I haven't looked at the poll results. Hold on. Let me pull up the poll results. Because it's a day, right? I set it for a day. Oh, Neil. I didn't realize he did that cartoon. That one's a little disturbing, but I understand. Let me see if I can... Oh, wait. Where's the pinned messages? Okay, wait. Name... Wait. Okay, good. All right. I want to see the results. Show results. All right. See, here's the thing. Okay, so we had... I'll show this on the screen. I think I can show this on the screen. Hold on. Oops. Where's my Discordio? Here's the Discord. Movies at the Discord. Na. Mama. That's the Discordio. I haven't seen it since I was a kid and it came out. Wait, what? I was just excited to watch Batman Forever. Aw. In fact, that's the one that Oomph said. What did you say? Can I vote for not about Kilmer, not Batman Forever? There was much discord. Well, look at the spread. Oh my God. It's just brutal. Brutal. I hope you can see it, but I'll read it to you. All right. So Real Genius, which I thought was going to be the winner, only got 3 votes at 23%. Tombstone, which I also thought would be a winner, only got 3 votes at 23%. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a very good movie and, probably worth it, got 4 at 31. So this is really pretty lukewarm. 1 vote for Batman Forever, 2 votes for Name Your Film. And frankly, I'm going to tell you, I understand what the one was Oomph saying, I vote for not Batman Forever. And the other one, I can't remember. What was the other one? Was it, was it the first one, Top Secret? Like the first movie he made or something? Which like a musical or something? Something weird like that, isn't it? I don't know. Well, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang won. My Name Your Film was Top Secret. Oh, right. Okay, you did say that. That's right. Oh, well, who else voted for Name Your Film? Did I miss a film that someone voted for? I was the only vote for Batman. I like Batman Forever. Maybe we should watch it on the weekend or something. Maybe we could watch it after the lounge or something. And then people who don't like Batman Forever can come in and be grumpy. Maybe I couldn't do a ranked ballot. God damn it. That's why you could vote multiple choices. Yeah. Yeah, you can come in and be the wet blanket. Grumpy Batman. We could do film trivia. I'll do film trivia during it in the chat. I promise. We're Real Genius and Kiss Kiss comedies. I don't think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is, well, I don't remember now because I get it mixed up with another one, The Long Good Night or something. The Long Kiss Goodnight. My written in vote was Heat. Oh, Neil. Yeah, I thought about that. I thought about listing Heat. Is he Scientology? I don't know. Not anymore. Sorry. I'm sorry. I still have a morose. Yeah, Heat was a real movie. That was a good one. It was like Al Pacino, Robert De Niro back together again. On walkers. No, I'm just kidding. Heat was good. GP's disdain for Patrick Swayze was so entertaining. Yes, I know. Yeah, they are very rare, but wonderful. Thank you, Max. And some of them, like the one, the motel, State Line Motel. I really want to see that. I think I've seen it back in the day, frankly. It feels very familiar. So I really want to see that. I'm going to keep looking out. I can't believe those aren't in an archive somewhere. That seems so weird. The Long Kiss Goodnight. That was, I think that was Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis. And it's so good. We're going to have to watch that. It's pretty violent, but it's really good. There was no random nudeness in any of the choices. Was that The Revolt? No. No. Oh, they wanted to see the nude one. Yeah, Batman Forever is the one with the suit nipples. That's right. It is actually because one of the trivia. I'll give you early trivia. One of the trivia about Batman Forever is that what's his name, Val Kilmer, was so fucking uncomfortable in that suit. He said it was like a trap. Yeah, he was mad. All right. Well, I'm going to surprise you with the movie then. I mean, not really. Carrie, are you here? And I didn't even see you come in. Hello, love. How are you? Where is GP? He's sleeping. Bring in the chopper. Breathe the nips. Yeah, I'm going to have to, I think we should watch Batman Forever on Saturday night. I think that's great. He was proud of his real nipples. I do love Gina. I met Gina Davis in person once. Oh my God. She is so, well, first of all, she's so tall. And she's just like, her stature, like when she enters a room, everything stops. It's so crazy. Like, I just watched her walk into a conference that I was at where she was speaking. And I I got introduced to her in the lobby by my boss or something as she was walking in. And I just watched her walk in, and the room, just like her presence is just like, I don't know. It's impressive. It's impressive. She's a very impressive person in real life. I mean, I'm impressed with her acting. I like her acting, but I'm just saying it was unusual. I heard Bush Sr. described that way by a source credible until that moment. Oh, the senior. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Gina Davis is in Mensa. Oh, yeah, she's like a mathematician or something. Yeah, I met her at some kind of girls' empowerment, like programming stuff we were doing. So I'm sure it was about STEM or something like that. That was a big thing. I just took a peek at, don't look at your 401ks. Can I give you one piece of advice? It's probably not a good time to look at your 401ks. Just let's see what's going on. Carrie, have you been watching the market? Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Wait, where am I? I have it up here. There it is. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now. Hey, that's not the right one. Hey, you. Okay. Whoa. That's not necessary. Well, that's not necessary. Okay, but this is. Hey, here we go now. All right. Well, here's the U.S. markets. The Dow Jones is down 1,167 points. The S&P not far behind, down 194, with the NASDAQ down a cool 796. The Russell 5000 is sitting down at 114, well, now 115. And the VIX is an interesting new index, which measures volatility. And apparently you want it at 3, but it's at 27. I don't totally understand the VIX yet. I'm going to look into it, but I'm just saying. Oh, is she annoying? Wait, is Gina Davis canceled? Gretchen Whitmer. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You have to meet Gina Davis in, never look at your long-term investments. I'm just saying, probably not today. Probably not today. Talk to your broker. All right, let's see. And in Europe, markets are down. Asia, markets are down. Not terrible. Currencies, as expected, and per the plan. The dollar is down against the yen, against the Canadian dollar, that kind of thing. Then let's see what else. Crypto down. Bitcoin's down to 82,000, and it was at 99. I mean, granted, it was at 99 like 2 or 3 months ago, but still. And then the futures, the Dow future is down. Crude oil is down, and again, it's $67 a barrel. I'm curious because I think there's some kind of break point at 65, because then that means gas prices are going to go up. Gold is down, blah, blah, blah. It's probably just uncertainty, I would imagine, more than anything else. Yeah. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day to be happy. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I'm not singing this right. I'm like totally off key. Okay, I'll have to start again. Let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Yeah, no, I won't give you any stock advice. I would not. I don't have any stocks. So, yeah, Monopocoin. Well, yeah, there's some legislation about stablecoin that I need to read up on. Yeah, I know. I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it's, the stock market, I don't know. It is what it is. It is what it is. On the Hesbronian fork. Iggy. Where's Iggy? Where's Iggy? Where's my Iggy? Warren Buffett told his kids to park their inheritances in an index fund. That seems to be sage advice. And that's not an uncommon place for 401ks to be, actually. I don't think I certainly there's a lot of traders with individual equities, but, indices, index funds or whatever. Yeah, gold went down a little too. Gold's down a little bit too. I wonder if that's uncertainty kind of thing. You know what I mean? Give me coffee, like, trade, because gold is also an element within certain parts, right? So gold serves more than just like an adornment. I believe it's used, so I just feel like that's probably with all the trade disruption, which we're going to talk about tomorrow on Fucked Financial Fridays. Yeah. Join us for Fucked Financial Fridays. I got to work on that song. Had to convert your wealth to Oreos if you can't value that well. Oh, ores. What are you invested in? Oreos. Double stuff. That's generational wealth. They have money to make money, then just borrow against it at a low interest rate, never touching investments. Money makes the world go round, the world go round, the world go round. Money makes the world go around. We'll do a little, what we'll do is we'll do a little Bob Fosse. We'll do a little finance. Where is Monopoly money at? Oh, that's the dollar. Money makes the world go around, the world go around, the world go around. Has Trump used the gold reserves to buy his meme coin for U.S. crypto reserve? What are you going to pin that stable coin to? Your ass! Don't touch my Oreo wealth. Hands off my Oreos. I'm sorry. I have to laugh. I'm in that mode. I'm past the righteous indignation. Well, no, I'm not actually. I've still got that. But I think we just have to take information in, and I feel very powerless when it comes to the particular movements of markets and the schemes afoot. But at least I can read up on them. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow morning. We're going to read up on all of what is happening. Yeah, past despair equals uncontrollable giggles. I don't ever want to stop giggling. Never stop giggling. That's what I'm going to say. My PJ coin is way down, but I mind it myself. Yup. I haven't bought Oreos in years. Well, I will admit to buying some Oreos. Exercise more. Yes. Yes, you're right. Can't move your money into long-term investments without a huge capital gains hit. Yeah, there's all kinds. No, they're not. There's no easy way on the market. The cards are a little bit stacked against you, and the market moves. Yeah. So I don't know. That's been I worked on what they say on Wall Street, which just means I worked at a brokerage firm for about 11 years, back in the 80s and 90s. So my direct experience is from way back when, so it's not really relevant, not really current. But it makes me curious about it. Yeah, that's true. They do leverage a lot. Yeah. I mean, somebody's making money on this market. I'll tell you that right now. All right. Let me tell you one thing I know about the motherfucking market. Somebody is always making money. There is always a winner. So there. And tomorrow we're going to learn more about it on Fucked Financial Fridays. Yeah. That's right. It just transfers. This is transferring wealth. I don't know who's winning, but somebody's winning. Money makes the world go round. All right. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit more about it. We're going to try and make it entertaining. Fossy. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I will see you sometime. And I got to be thinking about a movie too. So if you have ideas, you can drop them in Discord. I'll be hanging around in the Discord today too. So all kinds of love and admiration for everyone. Gal, thank you. Thank you, Gal Suburban, if you're still here, for always sharing your wisdom and the links and the things that you find. And I really appreciate that. What do you mean the other Batman? Wait. Okay, we're going to have a Batman. Maybe we need a Batman after lounge. Batman after lounge. Wild in the streets? What do you mean? What do you say? Didn't you bring that up a minute ago? Or a minute ago. Didn't you bring that up recently? It's 1968 American dystopian comedy drama directed by Barry Shear and starring Christopher Jones, Hal Holbrook, and Shelley Winters. Cool! It's an hour and a half. Oh, should we do that one, Max, for the oh, perfect. Hippie exploitation with Shelley Winters? I fucking love Shelley Winters. Why don't we do that for the Max Flower midnight pick? Wild in the streets. Awesome. Oh, I love it. I love Hal Holbrook. I saw him actually do Glenn Ross or something on Broadway a long time ago. The 80s. How embarrassing. Oh no, that was Jason Robards. Oh fuck. No, Jason Robards did The Iceman Cometh. I saw him do that. But I love Hal Holbrook too. Okay. Great. That's our midnight. What do you mean no? Oh, well, hey, you brought it up. All right. We'll argue about it on later. Love Mamet dialogue. Pretty sure he'd be problematic too. Yeah, I imagine everything that we watch has an element of problematicism. And what we try to do is, as just for the audience, is we acknowledge it and we understand the implications of problematic art. So, yeah, I think you're right. Good to acknowledge too, in a very public way. But yeah, so Wild in the Street. If you're 30, you're through. Oh yeah, we're all consenting adults. Yeah, well, at least I want that to be the understanding, is that there are many times that there are problematic elements within all of the art we consume and the movies, certainly. And it's hard sometimes to hear it. So it's trying to approach it with that understanding. Not always, but it does happen. So it's good to acknowledge it. All right. I will see you definitely tomorrow morning, but I'll see you on the Discordios through the streets. And I hope your Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. I hope your Thursday is great. Thank you again for coming, and I will see you all